All right, so a couple of the questions that came up before we started rolling here. Just trying to get my thoughts together. A couple of different things. Why are you guys calling it ger anything? Right? Why is it ger this? Why is it ger toshav? Didn't the Rebbe only say b'nei Noach? Is that a fair assessment? Didn't the Rebbe only say ben Noach? So what are you guys doing? That's the first question. And I think I want to say this. I don't know how to tie it in, so I'll just throw it out. The other question is, if there's more than one shita, where is that shita based off of this or that, and where does my shita come from? Another way of saying it is, there's two shitas. What are the two shitas and why? Right? All right. So we have a sefer here from Rabbi Yehoshaphat Oliver. Again, I'm tying just random things together. And the sefer was brought as he gathered up all the relevant sichas from the Rebbe and said, here is what the Rebbe said about B'nai Noach. So my problem with the sefer here, what's it called?
To Perfect the World.
Yeah. Is that the linchpin and all the things that we're talking about, and this is right what I wanted to get to, is what I hold and why, what the other Shita holds and why, and what Rabbi Oliver holds and why. Pretty much anyone in the B'nai Noach world will hold and why, based on one nakuda. Only one. If you're involved, and you and I have been hammering this out for how many years now, but it boils down to one core kernel issue. Rambam, Hilchos Malachim, 8, 10, and 11. Is there a Rambam Hilchos 8, 10, and 11 here?
Oh, yeah.
Now, James will tell you there's a lot of key sources at play in the B'nai Noach world. You can get into our famous chapter 10 discussion. You can get into, I don't know, my world you would call it Mishnah Brura, but there's a lot of sources you could bring. But in the laws of Ger Toshav Sefer that just came out, I think it's safe to say, and not because I said, but because if you weigh the different personalities and people and sources together, their common bond and thread is not how we learn the Goy versus the Ben Noach in 10.9 and 10.10. Even though that's important, but that's not what we're arguing. It's an argument, but it's not the argument. The argument is Hilchos Malachim 8, 10, and 11. And there's a lot of reasons why. In my meditation, I do, is I kind of, like, on the airplane over, I was meditating on this one question that I like to meditate on a lot. If we don't know how to make a Ger Toshav today, and you make it up, then aren't you inventing your own religion, l'chadish dat? Now, that's not exactly so simple, but let's pretend it is, all right, just to kind of play the devil's advocate here. If that be the case, then why are we involved in Ger Toshav at all? So it's another side to the same question, right? Again, why are you doing Ger anything? Which then says, okay, so good question. Why are we doing Ger anything? And the answer is Rambam 8, 10, and 11. Because your famous Rambam doesn't mention Ger Toshav at all.
No.
But Rav Soloveitchik will say, but the Ben Noach, who's not a Goy or Akum, is a not Ger Toshav Gamor. He's like a Ger Toshav, but not a Ger Toshav Gamor. And as our friends at Ask Noah and Pirkei Shoshanim like to say, there's a difference in what Rabbi Blumenstiel is saying between colloquial terms and, I don't know what, in technical terms, what I call jargon terms, Iker terms. So, if someone's giving a shear and they say, blah, 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 Ger, Toshav, blah, 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 And you'll say, but it's not a total ger toshav, or he's like a ger toshav. That sounds like a really dodgy answer. Hey, isn't that a ger toshav? Oh, it's like a ger toshav.
So what does it keep from being like a ger toshav?
But they think that it's just like, if I said, well, come on, James, you're sitting next to Bob. Well, I'm not sitting next to Bob. Well, it's like you're sitting next to Bob.
Yeah.
But in Talmudics, we have Iker terms. And Iker terms are designed to sound like regular terms. It's how writing works. And to quote our friend Blumenstiel again, a trained and experienced scholar will be able to recognize Iker terms from BS made-up terms. Like if I were to say, you're sitting next to Bob, and I say, well, it's like you're sitting next to Bob. Right? That was a BS made-up term. I just made that one up. But how do I know if it is an Iker term? Anyone know the answer? How do I know right off the bat, without thinking, if it's an Iker term? Or if I just made it up? Because it sounds made up. Iker terms will always sound made up. Isn't it true that Bob Katz didn't wear tefillin before Sinai?
True.
Yeah. So how do you know it's true? How do you know I didn't just make that up? Because if it was true, and it sounds made up, you will know if it's true or not. Didn't you read the Midrash Rabbah 3:4?
No, I didn't.
So when you copy and paste, that's how you know.
So like mitzvah Yusa would be an Iker.
No. Well, yes, but not really. That's just like a source. Like a ukimta of a source. What I'm saying is, it sounds like I made up like ger toshav. Oh, he's like a ger toshav. I made that up. I didn't. It's copied and pasted. Huh?
Like Rambam to ger toshav.
Yeah, that's the lingo. That's how it's said. So when you're reading in Torah, you can very quickly see the rabbi who makes it up, and making it up might not be bad. He might have a really good svara. He made it up. Okay, it's not usher to make it up. He may have just now thought of a fantastic answer. How do you have ger tosham before Adam was created? Well, the primordial worlds of the Zohar, it can happen that way. Wow, you're right. It can happen that way. That's amazing. I never thought of that. So making up an answer may not be the worst thing in the world. Now, I wouldn't say bet your olam haba on that answer until you thought it out. But when you go to a Torah shir, the rabbi will give a svara to someone that asks a kasha. Right? How could it be blah, 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 blah? Well, that was before Sinai. Great answer. But there's a qualitative difference between making up a svara on the spot to satisfy people's curiosity and copying and pasting. So again, Hilchos Malachim 10:10, where it says Ben Noach, the answer is but it's not a Ben Noach, it's not a Ger Toshav Gamor. That's the answer.
It has an element of ger toshav.
Yeah, but it's a copy paste answer. There's no subjectivity to it. You can't argue with it. It's not an opinion. It's not an opinion. It's the answer. So the other Shita wants to say that Ben Noach is a Noahide, and a Noahide is someone who practices Noahism, and Noahism is a parallel religion to Judaism. So that's why you have in 10:9, according to them, the Goy Akum is just some non-Jew, which is not the Masorah there, but let's pretend it is. That's a made-up answer. It's a non-Jew, as in non-Judaism, non-Jew. And this non-Jew, non-Judaism individual, who, since we're talking about the Noahide laws, I assume he's a practitioner of Noahism, and the very next halacha, a Ben Noach. Look, it is Noahism. It's a Ben Noach who practices Noahism. Now, I agree that is a nice little way to explain 10.9 and 10.10. And we know that you can always have more than one commentary to anything in Torah. Only it's not true. If you want to have a parallel universe, yeah, you can explain anything in a parallel universe. You can say, let's say if there's the accepted answer of something, you can give an alternative answer, Lafib Shuto. Yeah, you can say, wasn't Nebuchadnezzar a Ger Toshav? Well, no. But if you had a midrash somewhere, hypothetically, Nebuchadnezzar was a Ger Toshav because once he gave his father a present, and that's akin to doing all 7 laws. Okay, Nebuchadnezzar was a Ger Toshav, but he wasn't. I'm saying, but for the sake of drush, you can make a logical answer, and some are better than others. Obviously, I have a hard time explaining Nebuchadnezzar was a Ger Toshav, but to say 10.9 and 10.10 are strictly this or that, it's not like saying Amalek was a tzaddik. Okay, it's not on that level, but there is an answer. There is a terrain there, and those that understand the Rambam know this. So the other answers are not part of the Masorah of the Rambam. Now, anyone that knows the Rambam also knows you can make the Rambam into whatever you want. And that's what we're suffering here, is those that want to make the Rambam into whatever they want him to be, versus those that know how to learn a Rambam. Go to any academy of learning on planet Earth and find their biggest Talmidei Chachamim there. And I have done this. When I go around the communities around the world, first thing I do is pull off the shelf these Rambams. And you ask them, how do you learn this Rambam? And you'll get the same Rambam learning every time. Because it's copy and paste. They're not like all psychically aligned and say, like, wow, we all just happen to learn it the same way. There's a way to learn it. Now, some will learn it a little deeper than others. And for the sake of discussion or argument, when you read Rav Aaron Soloveitchik, Zod Yisrael Yosef Ben Yichai on Rambam 10.9 and 10.10, you will find that 10.10, Ben Noach is not Iger Toshav Gamor. I think, did I bring in the book? I'm not sure if I brought in the book or not.
Yeah, one of the first 30 pages.
Okay.
35 or so,
you
say.
Right. So, that's that. But again, when you boil the arguments down to one nakuda, where do we fundamentally disagree? Because I don't consider 10.9 and 10.10 a fundamental disagreement. Why? And this goes back to our friends in South Africa. Jacques was asking me. Because the Ben Noach of 10.10 is not only a Ger Toshav, not Gamor. This guy can do more mitzvahs, whatever that means. And we're not arguing right now what that means. But it could be your not Ger Toshav Gamor Ben Noach. It could also be your Noahism Ben Noach. Everyone will agree he can do more than 7. Even Ask Noah will say, as if it's logical and he benefits only materially, he can do more mitzvahs than 7. Now, here's also a problem I have with Rabbi Weiner, and it's the same Inyan that we're talking about. They have this fantastic chiddush that we didn't know how to understand 10.10 until Rabbi Weiner came to us and taught us that schar means benefit. So if I benefit from a mitzvah, then I can do the mitzvah. But does a non-Jew benefit from wearing tefillin? No. So therefore we know that he can't wear tefillin because he doesn't benefit from it. Well, my problem already is, why don't you just quote Radvaz and just be done with it rather than make up new definitions?
Suddenly the benefit is equated to the mitzvah itself.
But that's assuming that the word benefit has meaning. Or, sorry, schar has meaning. Who asked you or invited you to translate and teach out the word schar? Schar is not translatable here. Just like toshav is not translatable. Just like ger is not translatable. And all Iker terms are not translatable. They're communicable, but not translatable. Your name is James. I don't have to look up in the dictionary each time what James means when we talk. If I say, hey, Ross, did you talk to James today? You know exactly who I'm referring to. You don't have to think of, oh, the guy who wears this and that and sits approximately 33 degrees east latitude from me? No, we don't have to go to those kinds of definitions. That's why Iker terms are fantastic. I saw also written down in the other side's writings, they call the Rebbe Rabbi Schneerson. I think you would probably get in trouble in certain communities for that. I think we all understand what the Rebbe, why he's called just the Rebbe. I don't think you have to go as far as to call him Rabbi. I remember a story of a guy in Kollel. He had a picture of the Rebbe above in his dining room, and one of his workers came and said, "Wow, who's that Rabbi up there?" Right? It doesn't. It's not even. You don't say that. So you don't translate Iker terms. You use Iker terms. Big difference. So schar, the kedei lekabel schar. You don't need to sit and meditate. What does that mean? Lekabel schar. It's called a copy and paste from Avodah Zarah 2b and 3a. And the schar there is not he is physically receiving reward. Now, he may or may not be receiving physical reward. But that's not my business. And it's not your business. And that's not why he's doing it. The point is he doing something? Or is he, I always like to use this mushal, putting a peanut butter and jelly sandwich into a disk drive and hoping for it to work. If we were to go into a church right now and say, come on everybody, we're going to go and put on tefillin, chas v'chalila, right? Could we ever expect or assume that them doing that would have an effect on the world? No, zero. I don't care how usher mutter you think it is. But they say, okay, but did that idolater, so to speak, do something? The answer is no. He put a peanut butter and jelly sandwich into a disk drive hoping for it to work. He didn't do anything. Now, if you have a ger toshav, and whatever that means, now you can ask a question. Did he do something? Now, whether he should or should not do it, that's a different story. How you understand the Radvaz there. But that's not the question of should he or should he not. Question is, if he did he do something? The very fact that it's a question means it's a question. You don't ask that question to church people. That is not a question. That is a silly statement. So therefore, when we talk about schar, you don't translate schar. You say, did this person do enough to receive a reward? You don't go to a church and say, did these people do enough that Hashem listened? The answer is no. Hashem was not listening to a bunch of idolatrous prayers with leather straps on. That's what they're wearing, effectively, is leather straps. It's like the guy that destroyed the Kedosh Kedoshim, whatever his name was. What was it? I forget his name. Titus, was it? Or whatever.
There was a general.
Yeah. So, was he like the Kohen Gadol? No. Not in terms of the Lord's Torah like a Kohen Gadol, and not in terms of they were in the Holy Holies Kohen Gadol. That
at the beach, was it a big mikveh? A bunch of
yeah, right. Yeah, people who swim at the beach are not in a mikveh; they are at a beach, right? Kavana means everything. 1 second.
Well, if you're in the metropolitan area, we find some churches will have a number of yid as congregants.
Yeah.
So if they walk into the church, get those yids to wear tefillin.
Yeah.
Will that accomplish something?
Technically, on the lowest common denominator, but since they're Tino Shanishpa, who are, how would you? A Tinush Nishba has got to be at least like a Nachri, because they're not a Mumar, because you have Kavanah to be a Mumar. But I mean, if you're a Tinush Nishba, not even wanting to be a Mumar, there's so much klippa. Until the guy did tshuva, it probably wouldn't make an impression. But if he did tshuva, then it would make a whole different story. I mean, I know I'm a Baal tshuva, and I know where I was however many years ago. And when I went to my hotel last night in a very shady neighborhood in what's the name of that city? Is it Jersey? Not Jersey City. Where is it?
Newark?
Where Newark is? Is it Jersey City? Whatever.
I want to say Jersey City, but I don't know.
No, whatever. I forget the name of it. But it was a very, very shady area. And I was thinking, like, man, to think that I would even like live somewhere like this when I was just out of high school, like, what was I thinking? You know, like,
that's a big thing, isn't it? Like between the Rabbi and some other things about tefillin, his whole tefillin campaign.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, if they do tshuva, that's going to be one of the most impressionable moments of their life. If he
But what if they don't do tshuva? What if the Bacher catches them in the parking lot?
Yeah.
Because they're not going to go in the church.
No, it will
catch
do,
them in the parking lot. They get them to wrap the film.
It will do something.
Like in a retroactive.
Well, even right then, he has kedusha to him. He is not the same as the church congregant, right? So yeah, for the sake of finding Jews there, yes. But even still, we're talking about the mamish nachri in the church is like the peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
That discrete mitzvah that he's doing, or that discrete thing, if he's not shy.
But it's totally not shy.
He's not really, yeah.
Yeah, it's not shaykh. If you gave me front row tickets to the biggest mixed martial arts event, okay, I wouldn't even go. But if you give it to an MMA fan, I'd be like, whoa, how would you not go to that? It's amazing. Not shaykh, man, sorry, it's not my cup of tea. So, did he do enough to receive reward? The Kabul Schar. That's, it's not meant for translation.
But
Now,
we're going to have to translate.
No, you don't.
In order for anybody to
for the sake of translation, fine. But giving a meaning behind translation. My translations in this book are worthless. Look it up. Right? Ultimately, the typo on page 163. The real answer is go get the Mishnah Berurah and look it up. That's the real answer. I'm doing you a favor for translating it. At best, it's a favor. All translations are at best. And you know what? It's not even a favor. I damaged you by translating it. I kept you from going to learn the Hebrew and looking it up. And I learned that lesson in yeshiva. And Rabbi Turner, I'm sure you did too. I remember why I learned this lesson and it hurt really bad. I used to go to Chabad, actually, a sentence fought on Bein Hazmanim, where we are right now, in Bein Hazmanim. And I would go and because I'd get out of yeshiva and the Gemara Shir would be over, and go and look up the English Sfarim in their library. And I remember I got the Ramban. No. Well, too Sfarim. But let's just say I got the Ramban art scroll on the Chumash. And I remember opening it up in the intro. We have left out the Kabbalistic terminology, blah, blah, blah. And I remember going into every geschmack spot, and it's like, missing all the info each time. Really? And I got a sefer on the Ramchal translated about the Gula, Maimer Gula. And whatever you saw, the famous ... you knew he was going to leave out the best parts every time. And then when I finally could learn the Ramchal in Hebrew, and I saw what he was leaving out, I made a personal declaration on that day, like, never again, I mean, seriously, it was damaging in my soul from that point forward, knowing whatever I'm learning in English, already it's a damage. You're subjecting yourself to damage already, because you're not getting the real story, just by the fact that it's in English. And I thank God I don't learn English books. It's not even a crutch of laziness anymore, because it's so damaging. I know any book I read will do that. Case in point. This is Rabbi Oliver's book, and I showed this to Nathaniel Davis in Baltimore last year. And I got to find where he has it in here as I speak. And to go back on our topic, we're talking about Rambam 8, 10, and 11. And I told Nathaniel that in this Sefer we find our famous ... every time that he speaks about that Rambam. You'll have to find it on your own time, because I can't exactly find it in real time. But wherever it talks about Rambam 8, 10, and 11, hey everybody, it's the Rambam here, and it's so fantastic making Noahides, blah, blah, blah. And when he goes into the Ger Toshav part of that Rambam, you find ... every single time, and right before Ger Toshav is mentioned, it's edited out. And for those that don't know Hebrew, or don't know to look, they will never, ever know that the Rambam even mentioned Ger Toshav. Ever. Because it's always edited out. So, he may have had his reasons for editing it out. But even still, you, in the English, now don't know the real story. And you don't know enough to get the story.
And you think you know it.
And you think you'll know it, and you'll go on Facebook, and you will argue with the Ger movement, so to speak, even though it's not a movement, and say about how you know better, and blah, blah, blah. You don't know better. You read it in English, and by definition, you don't know what you're talking about. Here it is. Rambam, Hilgos Malachim, 8, 10, and 11. Translation from Mishnah Torah Moznayim Publishing. Moshe was commanded by the Almighty to compel all the inhabitants of the world to accept the commandments given to Noah's descendants. What's after the word descendants? ... Anyone who accepts upon himself the fulfillment of these 7 commandments and is precise in the observance is considered one of the pious Gentiles who will inherit the world to come. What happened to the rest of the Rambam? It's all gone. Not there.
Have you looked into it to see what's missing there?
Yes, I have. Go look at it yourself. It's on page 2 right here. Page 2. Compare that with the Rambam text. There's a lot not there. So, again, we see Iker terms, translation of Iker terms. Schar. You can translate it, but it will not be translated correctly. It's an Iker term, and therefore there's no mashma'ut in the translation. It's not brought in Avodah Zarah to be translated. How much reward did this Gentile receive? I don't care how much reward this Gentile received. He did enough to receive a reward, but in his 7 mitzvahs, like one who is commanded to do, and in the rest of his mitzvahs, not like one who is commanded and does. That's what it means. And there's nothing else to talk about. Now, if you want to get philosophical and Hasidic thought behind it, okay, but don't call that halacha. Call that hashkafa and thought. Now, what I found our friends at Ask Noah want to do, I thought about this on the airplane, they are explaining, I have a new term, a new Iker term I invented. Hashkafic halacha. That's what they are. They are hashkafic halacha. You should not wear tefillin. That is a hashkafic halacha. The halacha is called Si Radvaz on 10:10. That's the halacha. Well, what does the Radvaz mean? I don't know. Go learn it with your rabbi and he'll tell you if he thinks you should wear tefillin or not. I personally wouldn't recommend it, but that's my opinion. Go talk to your rabbi. It's why you have a rabbi. It's not the scholar's job to offer hashkafa in halacha. Now, if you ask my personal opinion, if it comes down to a personal opinion, that's a different story. And if you make me say my opinion on tefillin, I would give you my opinion on tefillin. Only my opinion doesn't matter. Because I'm not your rabbi. I don't live in Chicago. I don't live in your communities. It it doesn't. It's not worth it for me to have an opinion.
Did Bob ask about the filling again?
What is my opinion about the next winner in synchronized swimming in the Tokyo Olympics? Honestly, I don't have an opinion. I don't watch synchronized swimming. If I researched it on Wikipedia for a little bit, I probably could figure out a little something. Who won gold at the last couple Olympics. But it's really not worth me investing my thought and an opinion into that. And can I give my Ashkafic feedback on it? Probably. Do I want to? Do I need to? I really don't. Okay. So, that's 10.9, 10.10, identifying the Iker terms. When we say Ben Noach is like a Ger Toshav, copy-paste. Now, when you look at the argument, and again, when I went to different communities over the last couple years, you hear back all the different pushbacks, which is what went into making this new book, was me crunching what everyone's problem was. And the number one problem, a couple of the problems, there's so many Jews that need help. Why are you helping non-Jews? So, the answer to that question is, number one, if you have to ask that question, you probably didn't think very much before you asked it. Number two, the answer, you're probably not shy to the answer. Because the answer is, if you think just putting tefillin on Jews and leaving out 7 million non-Jews will bring Mashiach, well, we've already tried that, and it's not working, and Boker Tov, it's not going to work. The non-Jew, let me put it this way. If Kiruv is good at bringing back Jews, then doing Kiruv to non-Jews will radically, messianically achieve that victory. No one can bring Jews back like a proper Noahide. Now, there's no logic behind that. I know the reality of it. You're talking about the Jews in the church. The Jew in the church isn't looking for David Katz to come save his life. But if his Christian friends are all like, yeah, I'm Ger, or I'm this and that, he says, wow, maybe I am too. I mean, there's no logic to how the world works. There's just an infectious creation in the non-Jew who comes to God. I think it's such a chiddush that the Jews don't realize how much non-Jews really love God. And there's a natural creature in the world that doesn't believe in Jesus. He doesn't. And so when that guy tells the Jew, hey man, you guys are it, you got the book and this and that, the Jew's like, really? And then it just brings back Jews. That's just how it is. So you can't answer that one logically until you've been there, then it makes sense. Why are you using the word ger? Why ger this or that? And that goes back to where I'm talking about. There's no reason to use ger toshav, because you could maybe, even though this is not correct, make an argument every ger toshav source is Jubilee based. Now that's not a true statement, but you could argue that if you had nothing better to do, right? You can just, if you had nothing better to do, go argue that point. Why?
I'm going to interrupt you with a question.
Yeah.
One thing in your merit, actually,
Yeah.
I've come to pay attention to the
Yeah.
text.
Yeah.
So just reading it quickly or whatever, and
Yeah.
I don't know if you're going here with this, but it sounds like to me. I've never really thought about this, but in Hilton's Malachim...
Wait, which one?
Ches.
So wait, we're doing that now. Yeah,
Do you want to wait for the question? I'll wait for the question.
wait for the question.
Yeah, wait for the question.
Yeah.
Just remind me.
Yeah. So the only ger toshav source that makes sense without any other Yovel, this and that, is 8, 10, and 11. So the Noahides all base their efforts. Why do we have to go out to the nations and do anything? Leave them alone, right? So the association is based on 8, 10, and 11. If the relationship is 8, 10, and 11. How do you know that they get real merit for what they do? 8, 10, and 11. Everything ultimately comes down to 8, 10, and 11. So then the burning question in 8, 10, 11, what, or better yet, why does the Rambam mention Ger Toshav? Why don't you just call them happy special people? The happy special people, you are the happy special person. So, but he calls them Ger Toshav. Why did he have to do it? Why did he have to do it? And that question, concept, is really at the heart of this machlokas. If the Rambam there doesn't say Ger Toshav, I'm not going to say Ger Toshav either. It's not worth it. Now, I could argue the Ger and the Chumash. I can make a lot of arguments from Svara, but I don't know if I would be makpid to use Ger Toshav the same way that I do. Because I could say Ben Noach, not Ger Toshav Gamor, but that's already, again, like a long way of saying it. The fact that the Rambam says Ger Toshav, and I didn't want the argument to go to that Rambam. I wouldn't have chosen it. It's not a preference. I think there's better ways to do this. Chaim will tell you that. I think Gering your gates is better because it is the thing. We say it in Kiddush every week. It's more appropriate. But I'm not coming at this where Chaim doesn't always get what I'm doing. I'm not here to give you a shkafa. Chaim wants to give you a shkafa. World of the Ger is a hashkafa sefer. This book is not a hashkafa sefer. I'm not giving you my opinion what I think you should do. Remember that Simcha is saying, it's the text. That's all I care about. And what is Ger Toshav about for me is that simply the text says so why are you saying not so? I agree. You should not call yourself Ger Toshav. It's just not easy to communicate. It's not the best term. There's a lot of better terms. But you have made your stand against Ger Toshav. Well, then I'm going to make my stand with Ger Toshav. And it has nothing to do with, well, I want to call them this and you don't want to call them that. You're getting it down to the Rambam 8, 10, and 11. Rambam says Ger Toshav. How do you understand Ger Toshav in the Rambam? All right, let's pause for a minute. I want to go to the bathroom real quick. But think about that, even discuss it for a minute. It's going to come down to that Rambam 8, 10, 11. Ger Toshav.
You know where to share this video?
I don't know, my phone's not loading it.
Anybody on Facebook, if you're at the Chicago B'nai Noach, it should show up, and then share the video with anybody you think, any groups or anything. Just put it out there.
Boy, I'm so glad you have a beard because it's the last name. It's perfect.
Huh?
I want to change my last name now. Are we still being recorded?
Yes, we're being recorded. This is going out over the internet, and I don't know how to pause it. And if everybody shared it, it would. Yes, you're on it now, and you're going to be on the YouTube video too. So you got anything to say, you can say it now.
I'm not going to be famous.
Well, we just lost a person. Thank you.
Okay. Rambam 8, 10, 11. All right, so 8, 10, and 11, Ger Toshav. why does the Rambam have to use the Lashon Ger Toshav? That's a question I've asked myself many times. And it's an interesting question. The biggest question, more than why, is what does the Rambam mean when he says Ger Toshav? And it really is because see, when you boil it down this way, we could have a lot of different arguments in Machlekes, but if you want to get to the core, then the issue is, in the Rambam's Ger Toshav, does he mean Yovel or not Yovel? Because we've learned Klalim. Those that say no Ger Toshav today, not even like Ger Toshav today. Now, again, I'm not making these general claims, but they're making the claims. So, okay, let you do half the work. You're saying that there is no Ger Toshav today, no way, shape, or form. Then we know that the Pirchei Shoshanim view is Rambam 8, 10, and 11, Ger Toshav is Yovel. Done. That's simple. I lose. Rambam 8, 10, 11, Ger Toshav is Yovel. Therefore, I could make an argument, but according to that Shita, I have no leg to stand on. The Rambam always means Yovel, and that's in writing from Rabbi Blumenstiel, that Ger Toshav is constantly, always, 100% Yovel. There is no Ger Toshav today. Erechin 29a, Rambam paskening accordingly, and the mainstream halachic view is there is no Ger Toshav today. Is that a safe assessment? That's their view. I know that for a fact. Be that as it may, if I can prove my Shita, not that I'm trying to prove it to anybody, but then we would have at least two Shitas. They would have their reason of learning, and I would have my reason for learning. I will tell you that their reason for learning is made up, because they don't want there to be a Ger Toshav today. They find it problematic for many reasons. Now, that is not without precedent in Judaism. How many of you have ever heard of an incandescent light bulb? Can a Jew turn on an incandescent light bulb on Shabbos? Yes or no? Okay, let's assume a Jew cannot turn on an incandescent light on Shabbos. Now, what's very funny to me is if people were listening to this video, they would say, "Oh my God, what an idiot. Everybody knows a Jew can't turn on lights on Shabbos." Well, thank you. Thank you for enlightening me. I didn't know. Wow, you busted me. Man, I thought I had it going on. I can just turn lights on and off on Shabbos. Now I know. It kills me. That's what people think when you ask the question. It's like, I find that funny. Is it an Isser D'Oraisa or an Isser D'Rabbanan if a Jew turns on a light switch on Shabbos? And let's assume it's B'Shogeg, since if it was Asr B'Mezi, then again he'd be an idiot for doing it. Oh, now the question changes a little bit, right? Now it's a little bit of a different question. So, if it is a fluorescent light bulb, it's an Isser D'Rabbanan, and we treat it like an Isser D'Oraisa. Turning off an incandescent light bulb, preferably with a shinoi, not b'mezid, and for a good reason, chole, sheyesh bo sakana, ein bo sakana, a lot of different reasons. at best, it would be an Isser D'Rabbanan, so you can do it in a time of great need. Mostly for a sick person.
Does it have to be to save a soul, or is it just?
Yeah, I mean, because it's a D'Rabbanan, there's a little bit of leeway. But the rule in Shabbos is you always break it the minimal way.
Get a motion detector.
Yeah.
So it could be in fear of losing a life, not necessarily to save a life.
But again, because it's an Isser D'Rabbanan, you have a little bit more leeway. You're just in time for a Grace or Shiloh. Can you turn on an incandescent light bulb on Shabbos?
Can a Jew
Yeah.
define an incandescent light bulb?
There's only one definition of an incandescent light bulb. An incandescent light bulb. It's not a fluorescent light. That's not a fluorescent light bulb.
The regular old-fashioned.
Yeah.
So you want to know if it's an Isser Deiraisa or it's Rabbanan?
Aha! Eve, very good. Yeah, that's the question. So exactly. Unfortunately, most people don't ask that. They only hear the stupid part of the question. What Jew thinks he can turn a light bulb on Shabbos? Right. So it's an amazing question because I looked into this before I came here for personal reasons. It's one of these cases of Lafib Shuto where they say it has to be a deraisa because it can't be the Rabbanan because it has to be deraisa, but we don't know which deraisa or how deraisa. It's just got to be a deraisa because ultimately a light bulb gets hot, so it creates heat and it creates light, which is so much like fire. And they learn from the Rambam, to heat the filament, it's got to be fire. So we treat it like it's a deraisa. Even though, really, there's a reason to say it's a Rabbanan, but they want to treat it like a deraisa, because if it really is a deraisa, then you just did a malacha deraisa. And for all other electric things that may be a deraisa, if it were the Rabbanan, the light bulb, the other things that could be a deraisa, you would be doing deraisas. So Rosh Shlomo Zalman Auerbach made it very clear it is treated like a deraisa, and there's no easygoing heter as if it were a derabbanan, which is not the same as in turning it off, because turning it off isn't the same as turning it on. So, because it doesn't achieve the same thing as actually extinguishing a flame, because it's the filament. So it's more like fire turning it on rather than turning it off. And they say even if it's not fire, then it's most probably something. Now that already tells you that it's a derabbanan, but it's treated like a deraisa. And there's a lot of things that are like that. And the difference is if you did it, if you turn on a light switch in the Zman HaMashiach, in the base of Mikdash, would you have to bring a chattas on a light bulb? That would be an interesting question if you would or would not. Then it would be very clear what it is. But in any case, you're never going to be allowed to turn on the light bulb incandescent. It's always treated like a deraisa. So even when there's ways, reasons to do it, for so kind of things like this, even still it's treated like a deraisa. Which I found a great question then. In our famous Ger Toshav in the Mishnah Brura, a Ger Toshav does a malacha for a Jew. I think this is actually what that means, right? Because I'm probably not going to have you make a bonfire in my backyard. Probably, right? Right? I mean, you're not going to go make a bonfire, right? I would never think, hey, James, could you just happen to make a bonfire for me? And carrying muksa for me doesn't really constitute as malacha. So what malacha did you do that if I asked you to do it would be a deraisa, not a derabbanan? Again, you're not making a bonfire for me. So if we treat the light bulb like deraisa, for me, I can't turn on lights on Shabbos. I took on myself that it's like a deraisa. But I could have you do it. No. You just had James do for you something you could not do. Yeah.
In that case, it would be on the Jew.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the great example. Because I'm not going to ask him to go build me a bonfire.
Now,
That's ridiculous.
The tag, now I'm kind of inferring what Bob meant there, but so help me out, Bob. But
Did you do something?
Yeah, would a non-Jew have a Jew do something? Like, for instance, let's say somebody asks Bob to do something, and Bob knows for a fact that Jew should not be doing that. Or is that kind of...
Yeah.
It goes.
So, right, but is it a crime? Is it a favor of what you did?
Exactly. Is it a problem?
Maybe it is. Because you have, this is what the Rabbi is going to talk about in the Sikha on Sunday night.
Oh.
We do. Right? And I'll just tell you the answer of the Sikha, then we'll get into it on Sunday. What the Rebbe's doing, and what I like about this source of the Rebbe here, is, you know how halacha works. There's always someone that has a prime function in halacha. That did something, right? The Rambam wrote on everything. No one else really did that. The Mishnah Berurah brought us Orach Chaim. No one did it the same way. Whatever it is, everyone in halacha there's always someone that achieves something great or that answers something. The Rebbe filled in probably the biggest hole in all of non-Jewish halacha, and that is, and this is how you know that there's a ger toshav in halacha today. By the way, from the Rebbe, that based on the Mishnah Berurah 3043. A non-Jew who rejects shituf, which is not the ben Noach as we learned, right? That's the maskuna. But in that thing about shituf, right? They're not huzar al the shituf. What if my non-Jewish friend from his reshus wants to reject shituf? He does not have to, but if he wants to, do we let him reject shituf? So Blumenstiel will tell you no. Cannot.
What?
Cannot. A Jew believes in God. The siman of that is keeping Shabbos. A non-Jew who cannot believe in God because he would have to keep Shabbos. How do you keep a non-Jew from believing in God? He must remain in shituf. That does not mean believe in Jesus. It means don't reject shituf. How would you ever reject shituf? We don't let you take a beis din today. Because there's no ger toshav today. Not till Yovel.
So where's this from?
That's Blumenstiel.
Yeah, I know, but what text are you guys referring to? Or what?
Blumenstielism.
Oh, okay.
Now, in that sugya, because ger toshav, Hilchos Malachim, Rambam, 8, 10, 11, that ger toshav is Yovel. Now, have you ever seen Ace Ventura? When he goes in reverse? So go back to the discussion. We're going to go backwards now. Rambam, Hilchos Malachim, 8, 10, 11, ger toshav is not Yovel. So he can take a beis din. But how do we do beis din if we don't know what beis din is? That beis din there is lav dafka. It doesn't mean a literal beis din. We know that there are dargas of beis din. The beis din of the Beis Hamikdash is not the beis din of 3 head yidden sitting in the back of a shul.
Technically, I mean, they adopt it too. Like they're wrong for if you're going to be accurate. Like Rambam doesn't say beis din; he actually says
3 chaverim. And where's that lashon of Gimel chaverim? From the Yerushalmi Talmud. And what is 3 chaverim? You know what 3 chaverim are? It's reliability. You get not haskam.
But that creates a beis din.
It's not a proper beis din. It's 3 people. If I am keeping Shabbos in my home and I want James to come babysit my kids for a month, okay? So I need to know that you understand kashrus, this, and this, right? So what we would do is have 3 Jews sit down, Hediyot Jews, and say, okay, we need to make sure that James knows what's going on. So we'll test you. All right.
very similar to like a kosher bakery or something.
Yeah. So you'll love this one. Ready? What is it called when we say James is reliable to govern my home on Shabbos? Makablin.
Interesting.
It's Makablin. In the Rishalmi, it uses Makablin Gimel Chaverim.
Really?
It's the same thing with Damai. If I have Damai in the Zman Amitash, like holy foods, how do I know that you're not going to mess that up? Now, I don't care how God-fearing you are or are not. Just don't mess up my Damai. Remember, Yerushalmi Gemara is about the world of the Beis Hamikdash, and we have to conduct ourselves like the Beis Hamikdash. This is not a Beit Knesset. It is a Beit Hamikdash. So you cannot mess up. So when you're dealing with Truma and Meiser and Damai, I need to know, I don't care what you do in your Avodah Zarah world that you live in, just don't mess up my Damai. So you come before 3 Jews, and we say, okay, James has got down Damai. You're Makablin on Damai. Now you are all good at Damai, but you got this weird thing where you like to put pork in with Damai. Whoa, that's what he does. That's the one thing that you don't do right? Let's just say, we'll make this up, okay? We're making this up. That in general, making this up really bad for context. So, in Damai, we use pig hooves, because pig hooves are not treif technically. But by Durabanan, they are treif. So James likes to put in the pig hooves, and we say, James, Durabanan, you're not supposed to be putting in pig hooves. And you say, yes, but there's a shita from blah, 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 blah. Okay, James, you're against the rabbinic tradition. You're the one thing that doesn't, right? Yotzi, Chutz b'dvar achad. What does the Rambam say? Surah Bia 14:8. You are not Makablin because you did one thing wrong. So one thing that you did wrong, you are not kosher Makablin for us. Okay, now so that's why it comes down to a Rabbanan. Even the rabbinics, you got to get right in what you do. By the way, Soloveitchik then teaches that in terms of Ger Toshav, in Surah B of 14:8, where we don't accept Ger Toshav except for Zman Yovo Noyeg, even if he does the whole Torah except for one thing, they say that is a reference of conversion, not Ger Toshav. Because by definition, a Ger Toshav doesn't have to do everything according to Torah because he's not converting. So if he says, we don't do Ger Toshav, but if he did all that stuff, then he's a convert. No. Because if he doesn't do one thing, also, he didn't get in because he didn't convert.
That's where it talks about it.
Yeah. So, back to what we're saying. How do I get on that? Shabbos.
Derisa, if
Yeah.
Steele says that...
The Rambam. Or the Rambam. Yes, Ger Toshav. So, that Ger Toshav is not Yovel. It's a different, it's not talking Yovel. So therefore there is Ger Toshav. Now, every other place you can make the argument, even though it's not true, but they do, make the argument of Yovel. But that Rambam is not Yovel. I forget how we did that whole...
Which Rambam?
Yeah,
8, 10, 11.
So could you like in short say like how you got there then? Like
I forget how we did that whole Ace Ventura backwards thing.
Yeah. Is it
The Mishnah Berurah. Mishnah Berurah 304 Hilchos Shah. Rejecting Shituf. So now my non-Jewish friend wants to reject Shituf.
right?
He does not, the Beis Din is not a proper Beis Din. It's 3 Hediyat Mekablin. Right? I need to know that it's not enough that you are not a Christian and you don't believe in Shituf. I need to know that you rejected Shituf. Big difference. Not the same thing.
So
A Noahide, again, as it's written, cannot be a Christian even though Shituf is mutter. Right? Shituf is mutter. That doesn't mean go out and do the most Shituf religion you can possibly think of. Because as they write by Blumenstiel, Christianity is not righteous. A Noahide should be in light of Hasidei Omosa Olam. He should be righteous. Christians are not righteous. So, therefore, he's got to be a Noahide to say, I am not righteous, but I can believe in Shituf. So I have a great analogy of Shituf. People always ask me, are Muslims shituf? So here's my impression of the Muslim shituf. Ready?
The Muslim doing shituf?
Yeah, because they're monotheistic. So how are they shituf? So I'll explain to you how shituf works. Ready? When Allah comes, He will destroy the world. And then the Muslim guy says, yes, when Allah comes, He will destroy the world. Yes, when Allah comes, He will destroy the infidels. Yes, when Allah comes, He will destroy the infidels. Yes, when Allah comes, Muhammad, His prophet, will be there with them, laughing in glory. Yes, Muhammad will be with Allah, laughing in glory. So a man is right there with God. They're friends. Shituf. By definition, once you say a man is in the domain of God, that is shituf. God does not hang out with men. I don't care how high your prophet is. So once you make that connection, that the same existence, then it's shituf. So therefore, a Noahide is not warned against shituf. In his mind, he can make that error. I don't know enough about God that I think blah, blah, blah is with God. Whatever shituf thought you want to make there. So, can the non-Jew then go forward and say, it's not enough that I'm not righteous, double negative, whatever it is. I left my religion behind. I believe I cannot take Beis Din, even if it's not a real Beis Din, because there's no Ger Toshav today. That would make me Ger Toshav, blah, blah, blah. So therefore, I'm a Noahide. And Blumenstiel will tell you there's two kinds of Noahide. Mechachmehem, I said that the laws are logical, therefore I'm a Noahide. Or because Moshe Rabbeinu said so, therefore I'm a Noahide. One is from their wise men, one is from the Chassidiya Moshe Olam. But because they don't hold of Ger Toshav, both of those guys are the same level. They're both called Noahide. Never in their Shita is there a way to say, yeah, I'm a Noahide, but I did proper things. So that's why the Rambam there, Dafka there, where it says Chassidiya Moshe Olam.
Another option too. It wasn't. It's a mitzvah from Moshe, which you just mentioned, and then there's. It's not a mitzvah; it's just logical, which you mentioned. And there's another option that it's a mitzvah, but from somebody else. It's a mitzvah from like Noah, for instance.
Yeah, the from Adam and Noah. Right, which is also not from the Chassidiya Moshe Olam as they say. My point is that is it really fair to say that the atheist Noahide is the same Noahide as you? It's not. They're not. Yeah. And they'll say, but one's a Chassid and one's a Chacham. Okay. But it comes out the same. They're both called Noahide. So how does a Noahide separate himself?
Right. Which is a problem today in the B'nai Noach.
Right. Because they put everyone in one lump sum as Noahides. One who is logical and one who's not.
This is the Chabad system. I mean, just like if you had Jews that are, for whatever reason, following atheism.
Okay.
They're still seen as Jews, and the Bakers
No, they're not. No, they're not. No, they're not.
No, they're not. The Baker will attempt to get them to fill it.
No, they're not. A Tino Shenish Bayid has the din of Kenachri. A frum Jew is not considered in any way, shape, or form like a Nachri.
Will the Chabad Baker try to get in the word to fill in?
Yeah.
Okay, see, that's where this Noahide concept of everybody being important.
Okay, that's a question. Let me ask you a question. We have two Kohanim in front of us, and they are transported around the globe. Okay? We have two Kohanim from Idaho who are transported to Australia. The Rav in Australia says, present yourselves. They say, we're Kohanim. And the first one, okay, go ahead. He says, my name is Moshe Katz. He says, okay, you're a Kohen? Yes, I'm a Kohen. How do you know you're a Kohen, Moshe? My father was a Kohen. His father was a Kohen. Okay, is your mother Jewish? Was that a question? Of course she's Jewish. He says, okay, is your father dead or alive? My father was Nifter. Okay, did you see the grave? Yeah, there were the hands of the Kohen in the grave. Okay, so you're from Moshe from birth. Your father was from birth. Your grandfather was from birth. Is that guy a Kohen?
He
Is he a
would
Kohen?
be accepted as a Kohen.
Is he a Kohen?
I suppose.
He has a chazaka that he's a Kohen. The other guy, they say, who's your name? What's your name? Brad Jones. Brad! Nice to meet you, Brad. Okay. Are you Jewish? Yes, I am a Jew. Turns out I was adopted. I found my mother on the internet, and thank God she is a Jew, and I'm a Jew. Okay, Brad Jones is a Jew. And he says, I am a Cohen as well. You're a Cohen. Yes, my mother, turns out she married a Cohen. So then he says, okay, so your father, like, how do we know he's a Cohen, this and that? It comes out that his dad was a Baal Tshuva, had an affair with this woman, da-da-da-da-dee, da-da-da-da-da. For the sake of argument, she was kosher to a Cohen. His mother was a virgin before she conceived this child. The dad was a Baal Tshuva. The grandparents he never knew, and the dad was not shomer anything. He never met his father. His mother said she saw records. The dad was a Cohen. Is this guy a Cohen? No, he is not a Cohen. He does not have a chazaka. He doesn't duchen. He is not a Cohen. What's the difference? What's the nafkamina? A frum Jew has a certain credibility over that of a non-frum Jew. And I know this because I lived this fate myself as a Cohen. If you are a frum Jew in the world of kahunics, then you are believed in terms of your yichus. If you are not a frum Jew, by halacha, you are not believed on your yichus. One remains a Cohen and can make his child a Cohen, the other cannot. So yes, in Judaism, there are levels in Judaism. The frum Jew has certain things that a non-frum Jew. Just like in Noah X, the non-frum Noahide does not have the same credibility as a frum Noahide. What constitutes a frum Noahide? Namely, is it from their Chachma or from the Chasidei? Almost all. If you call them all just Noahides, that doesn't work. So how does one become a proper Chasidei Omos Ha'olam? That's why the Rambam puts in Ger Toshav in 8, 10, and 11. But if you say that Ger Toshav is Yovel, then the Chasidei and the Chachmei are all just Noahides. There's no way of discerning and knowing.
What I'm saying is that there's a different approach that I've come across in Chabad. And the approach is to...
Is every
really
Chabadnik an expert in Noahides?
I'm saying that within the Chabad mindset...
There's no such thing as a Chabad mindset.
Well, within the way it's done in Chabad generally.
Can I help you out? In Tanya, there's talks about the Umot Olam and the Hasidim Umot Olam. Two different types of non-Jews. Right?
No, I'm referring to the approach in Chabad.
There's no
The
such thing.
approach
There's no
would
such
be-
thing.
The approach would be to really want
There's
that
no such
non-from...
thing as a Chabad approach.
The desire would be
Yeah.
to really want that non-from Kohen
Yeah.
to be brought in, to be
A Kohen?
verified.
No, you can't.
They would
No.
want
No, you
him
can't.
to be...
No,
There's,
they don't.
there's ways to check.
No, there's not.
There's ways to check.
you a Kohen?
Today,
Are you a Kohen?
today there's ways
No,
to
you
check.
cannot. It's called a chazaka. And the halacha is if your father was not a Yerushalayim and he lost the chazaka, it's gone. It's not a DNA thing. It's not a Yerushalayim thing.
Can I ask it a different way? In Hasidus, there's the Umot Olam, Hasidim Umot Olam. However, there's no base din. There's no way to verify who's Umot Olam and who's Hasidim Umot Olam, and how to tell the difference, for instance.
Yeah, there's no way to tell the difference.
And so you would naturally lump them all together.
You know, I lived out this Cohen thing personally. You know how I became a Cohen?
How much did you pay?
A lot of money. So I was, obviously, my family told me I was a Cohen.
Mm-hmm.
And I married according to Cohen, had children according to Cohen, and everything was good. When I went to remarry, which God willing, I looked into it, and I had no reason to continue being a Cohen. Because my father was not frum, his father was Machal Shabbos, and his father died in the Shoah. So we never saw the great-grandfather's grave. My grandfather was a Shagitz, and my father died young, and I never got the answer. So I was willing to marry a divorcee this time around, because it's always the famous thing, Kohanim have a hard time getting married at this stage of life. And so I by halakha, I lost I don't have a chazaka. Now, when what most people do when they get a bolt shuv off the street, they'll just say you're a Cohen, and it's really not, in my opinion, the best thing to do, because you got to check. And they don't. So about 6 months ago, I called my uncle, just random, and I said, man, how did you and my dad get into the meat business? And he said, that's a good question. Because I didn't think about asking that question until I got older. I mean, it's like, he said, this is him talking. He said, my mother was the kosher butcher in Aliquippa. And the town rabbi was Rabbi Klein, a Hasidic Yid, who was the town moyel and shochet, and she raised the chickens, he shechted them, and she was the butcher. So I was always told they lived on the not frum side of town. But then he told me that was only after my grandfather died. So before he died, they lived where all the frum Jews lived, and Rabbi Klein bar mitzvahed my uncles and my father, and they did Birkat Kohanim on Yantif. So I never didn't have the chazak. Now, when what most people do when they get a bolt shuv off the street, they'll just say you're a Cohen, and it's really not, in my opinion, the best thing to do, because you got to check. And they don't. So about 6 months ago, I called my uncle, just random, and I said, man, how did you and my dad get into the meat business? And he said, that's a good question. Because I didn't think about asking that question until I got older. I mean, it's like, he said, this is him talking. He said, my mother was the kosher butcher in Aliquippa. And the town rabbi was Rabbi Klein, a Hasidic Yid, who was the town moyel and shochet, and she raised the chickens, he shechted them, and she was the butcher. So I was always told they lived on the not frum side of town. But then he told me that was only after my grandfather died. So before he died, they lived where all the frum Jews lived, and Rabbi Klein bar mitzvahed my uncles and my father, and they did Birkat Kohanim on Yantif. So I never didn't have the chazak. And I never knew. You don't think to ask these questions.
Instead of going through your dad, you went through your uncle.
Well, my uncle, if my dad was a Cohen, my uncle's a Cohen.
You're right, that's what I'm saying.
Right, so Rabbi Klein knew my grandfather, and they all duchen to Rabbi Klein's shul. So there's a chazaka. And you know this guy, Peretz Rivkin, Crown Heights? He's a big guy in Kahuna. He's a Cohen. He's got an organization to find Kohanim. He's a good friend of mine. So that he put me in his journal. He talked to my uncle and everything. It was really cool. So now I can't go back on it. I mamish have a chazaka. And it's funny, my son Reuven, he has more Cohen identity than I never could. He loves it. He tells everyone. So even if it would break his heart even if it turns out it wasn't, but it's impossible now. The point is that to become a Cohen, you have to really have a chazaka. You can't just, there's no DNA or, You have to. There's signs, simanim. So how do we know a kosher Noahide? How do you know? That's called shituf. When he rejects shituf, the lashon in the jargon phrase is bifnei gimel chaverim. That doesn't mean a proper based in. Another case where the other shita got it wrong.
Is that the Zmanazeh that's for today?
Yes, 100%. Gimel chaverim doesn't mean you actually have to appear before a based in.
But where do we know that from?
What?
Are you referring?
Everybody that writes on this
Okay.
says it is lav dafka. It's a copy paste with jargon, and I think the Rebbe also is going to get into it because it's not. It's the whole crux of the Rebbe here. That ger toshav. Read this. Ready? Listen. Right? He's just going to quote the Rambam in the first
You
paragraph.
probably have to know for Shabbos.
Hine pashtis loshin harambam. Moire asher achiyuv lechof. We have a mitzvah to make the non-Jews keep 7. Mitzvah lechof. Blumenstiel writes explicitly that this is not Nogeya today. Explicitly written. The Rebbe explicitly writes verkehrt.
So obviously then there is.
Eino ach v'rak medine ger toishiv. What does that mean? You with me? Eino ach v'rak medine ger toshav. This has nothing to do with dine ger toshav. Yovel, based in, nothing to do with it. Ela d'hutzivoy bifnei atzmoi shel kfiyah al hazayin mitzvahs. Aval lo ne'amar shum chiyuv lechof kol ben noyach sheyeh ger toishev. We are not making ger toshav and from bnei noyach. Shahai lo ksav harambam dinitztivenu lechof lekabel mitzvahs vayiyu gerim toishavim. We're not making gerim toshavim. Ki im hamakabel oisim hu anikra ger toishiv. One who accepts from lechof to the 7 mitzvahs is called ger toishiv, which is different than making in plural gerim toshavim.
So he literally made a difference then.
100%. Klaimar.
That's the same as.
Klaimar. Mishachi mekabul ha-mitzvahs. Ubifnei bezdin.
Now he's.
Hold on. Hu ha-nikre v'kol makoin gir toishiv. Aval etzem ha-chiyuv kfiyah. Einanu kasher v'toloi b'hilchus ger toishiv. So again, there's hilchus ger toishiv and dine ger toishiv, which is what we're not talking about.
And Rambam says called ger toshav.
Called ger
So
toshav,
he's using the same.
which means a non-Jew comes before a Beis Din, but he can even do it by himself. As he approaches, he says, "I state your name. You Jew have lechof oti. You've done it, brother. You got the shituf out of me. You brought me to the 7 mitzvahs the right way."
So
At that moment, he is called ger toishiv.
And that's the lashon. That's the language of the Rambam.
Right.
It changes the Rambam.
So then he goes about his business. He is no longer called ger toishiv. He is from the Hasidic Omos Ha'olam, as long as he continues to be careful keeping the 7, and he has rejected
Or
shituf.
he is called ger toshav, but he's not.
He is not a ger toshav.
ger toshav.
It is called ger
It
toshav.
is called ger toshav.
His standing before Beis Din, he was pressed to keep the 7. He is careful in the 7. He has rejected shituf. That is called ger toshav.
So my Hebrew is not that good, but I was following. Is that what the Rebbe just said right there?
100%. I'm quoting nothing more than Rebbe. V'chein hari b'kul makaim shehiz chi Rambam oid is ger toishiv. Every other place the Rambam says ger toishiv. Mavi de Ema Kadling Girtoishav Elabas Mansha Yoivo Noyik. And he brings all the Makairos.
So he's talking about that verse that I'm talking.
Hilchos Avodah Zarah, 10:6, Mila, 1:6, Shabbos, Isur Ibia, Vekan Hashmit. Hainu Mishum da Hacha. Lo Kai Bedine Gertoishiv. This Rambam has nothing to do with Dine Gertoshiv. Ki achiyuv lechoif eino shayich legeirus. There's no geirus here. All the other ones, there's always that argument, right? Does a ben noyach have to do shitu for now, right? Same thing by ger toshav. Is ger toshav a conversion or not? This ger toshav is not that sugya at all. Ela sharambam neked b'derech agav. The Amikabel Hazayin mitzvahs who nikre bikumak goim ger toishiv. Aval ein zechelik mi etzem alocha de kaiba. Ulahachi lo hizkir de ein mekablin ger toishiv ela bezman hayovel. So when Blumenstiel writes that this is the Yovel ger toishiv, the Rebbe says beferish it is not the Yovel ger toshav.
He's very explicit there.
More than very explicit.
So what's the Rebbe talking? And so the Geras things, obviously Ger Toshav's like Geras is
The Rambam, the only question that ever existed was why does the Rambam bring ger toshav here? Because if ger toshav is yovel, why is it brought here?
And when you say here,
So 8, 10, 11. And the Rebbe is saying, great question. I have that question. Everybody's got that question. That is, there's 2 ger toshavs. How many of you have ever heard of brisk? What does the brisker Rav Shita always say? Svei dinim. There's ger toishiv. Talui bedine ger toishiv. And there's ger toishiv not in dine ger toishiv.
I wonder why the Rebbe then brought in the Katz Geras for Ger.
That was in the Sikha.
You're right.
Because he brought in Creasus 9a. And in Creasus 9a, it's the Rabbi Gershom.
Right.
And over there, it's a question of what is the nature of ger toshav. Is it ksat geris? If it's ksat geris, is that a literal geris or not a literal geris? The Rebbe was under the impression it was not literal geris, and we brought Minchas Asha here to get into that sugi as well. And very minority opinions think geris there mamish and ksat geris, but most people don't hold that.
So let's just for the audience too. So let's say there's Lubavitchers out on the street and they're putting tefillin on Jews. They see some non-Jews and they lakof them, they accuss them, and they say, hey, do you want to keep the Sheva Mitzvahs? And they get into it.
The Maskana of the Rebbe, there's 2 parts of the Rambam. And I'm going to paraphrase. It's a great idea to go make Noahides. Because it's a great idea. And then he says, and it's let me see if I can squeeze it in here. No. He brings over a couple different paragraphs, and I got to paraphrase. He says, in this Rambam is special and unique because there's a mitzvah lechof, which again I find fantastic because Rabbi Blumenstiel writes explicitly this mitzvah is not nogeya today. The Rebbe says it is very much nogeya today. And even Rav Weiner says it in Sefer Mitzvahs Shem. It's not nogeya to kill them, but with calm and nice words, lechof. Which everyone holds there's a mitzvah lechof. What they don't know is where the Rambam got it from. Because apparently it's the Rambam's bringing Halacha Moshe Sinai. And no one knows where he got it from. But everyone says, despite that, it's chal. Everyone goes by that Rambam. And the Rebbe says this, and you can look inside. When the conditions are unique, that it is not dangerous, lechof, the goy. I bring this in my thing that I wrote in Cape Town. When the goy won't kill you, and he's interested, you have a special, unique opportunity to lechof him, to make him a ger. It's called in the post game. It's called making gerim.
Now, when you said making ger,
That's not what he said, but in Avoda Brura, which I put in here, it's like Avram Sarah, the souls that made the Charan. It's called making gerim. But the Rebbe is going to say it's called lechof, to quote the Rambam. You have a mitzvah lechof him, which means there's two Kabbalahs that he takes. A Stam Noahide has Kabbalah some mitzvahs. And that is your Noahide, regular Noahide. I swear to it, blah, blah, blah. But the Rebbe says Ger Toshav has another Kabbalah. Kabbalah's Ul Malchus Shemayim, which he learns from Geirus. And he brings that. Just like in Geirus, there's a Nasav and Ishma, the two Kabbalahs. Also Ger Toishiv. That's why they say it's like a Geirus. Not because it's like a literal Geirus. Because there are a lot of the things that Geirus requires, Ger Toshav does too. I.e., some kind of based in, even though it's not a literal based in, and the proper Kabbalah, which based in is just another way of saying take a proper Kabbalah.
oh, so for instance, when you're saying Geirus or Katsas Geirus, it's referring to...
Just like Ger Toshav, by Dine Ger Toshav, and our Ger Toshav, just like there's Geirus and our Geirus, just like there's based in based in, there's a parallel universe in this Rambam. You see what I'm saying? Everything here is like Svei Dinim. It's not the same thing. It's a unique Rambam. Everyone writes about this. It's not unique only to the Rebbe. This Rambam is special for that reason. And that's why it's a little bit harder to learn.
It's not 4D, it's very 3D. It's not time, the dimension of time.
It's just, when you say Ger Toshav, the Rambam isn't speaking the same Ger Toshav. When you say a proper based in, this is not a proper based in. When you say, it's like different. I don't know why. I'm not the Rambam. I didn't write it. So this non-Jew, he comes up to the Jew and says, "I love your God," and the Jew says, "Man, I'm looking around and I think I can pull this off and not get killed." He says, "I have a mitzvah lechof you." So they do a Kabbalah. The non-Jew takes Ol Malchus Shemayim.
Okay, yeah.
He now is Hu Anikra Ger Toshav right now.
So he's called the Ger Toshav.
That are him standing in the place of Kabbalah.
Okay.
The Kabbalah is called Ger Toshav more than anything. But he is united with that Kabbalah.
I kind of see. He's kind of...
He is presented as Ger Toshav.
Parallel universe process.
He is presenting as Ger Toshav. Takes his Kabbalah, and then he takes another Kabbalah on the mitzvahs. He goes on about his business. And he is believed now to be careful in the 7. That is called, and Rabbi Rabinovich writes this explicitly, he is now from the Chassidiya Moshe Olam.
Oh, really? Interesting.
So he comes up as Ger Toshav and goes down and away from the Chassidiya Moshe Olam. And he is now definitely not a goy.
He's no longer part of the...
He's not a Ben Noach.
Would you say he's no longer part of the Unim at that point?
Yeah, 100%.
Because he's now shaykh the din of Torah.
And halachically, how he's different is he's not shituf.
Okay.
He is mukbal to no longer shaykh to shituf. It's an isser derais the meshamash him as a Shabbos guy.
Because that's kind of like a definition of goy, like the whole nation's word.
Amir la'akum is the definition. Mishnah Berurah very clearly. A goy, you only have an isser derabanan if you use him as a Shabbos goy in the wrong way. And the ger toshav it's an isser deraisa. I can have a goy turn on an incandescent light bulb for me on Shabbos. Now, it's isser derabanan on me for a million different reasons, right? There's no way I have a heter to do it or would want to do it. But let's say, God forbid, someone did it. A non-God-fearing Jew, he went to the hotel and he grabbed the bellhop, and he said, "Turn on my incandescent light." And he said, "I love Jews." Bingo, there you go. The only transgression was an Isser D'Rabbanan. Because the Torah said in the Ten Commandments, rest your ger. It didn't say rest your goy.
Because it references ger there. It's kind of
And that is a halachic fact. It doesn't say rest your goy.
ger batosha.
And they learned the diuk there. It says ger chashiv sharecha, not your goy. So we can use goyim to do whatever we want on Shabbos.
Okay, so that's what we're getting this.
Any goy can do. They can light bonfires for me, everything I want. And what do the Rabbanan say? Whoa, 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 whoa. Do not make Shabbos light in your eyes. I have a whole set from Vadios' son on the halachas of Amir La'akum. Right? There's like 3 or 4 different gezeras why the Rabbanan aser Amir La'akum. Well, the biggest one is the Rambam, is it'll make Shabbos light in your eyes. Is it really good to go around finding Christians for Shabbos for me? Like, hey, Earl, would you mind? Just like, yeah, go ahead. Just flip the light there. Yeah, just flip it. Right? So the Rabbanan said that's not good. So we're going to make forbidden all Isurim, as if it was Asr. But only the Rabbanan. Right? So then how do we then govern Amir La'akum? Hilchos Amir La'akum. How to get an Akum to do things for you, this and that. How Shabbos Goy works, this and that. But most, if not all, laws for Bnei Noach come from something ger in the Torah. So therefore, you see, here's a great example. The ger toshav, it is the Isser D'Oraisa if they work malacha for you on Shabbos.
No, that's a good point.
Because the Torah says rest your ger on Shabbos. So which ger? Wait. Which ger? Your friend Moshe Shulman says on which ger? He wants to say Mesach de Yevamos 48b. The Ger Tzedek is a convert to Judaism. So really, I can't have my convert work for me on Shabbos? I wanted you to put the lights on for me, Simcha. So, it can't be the convert. Why? Because most people are cognitive enough to know that a convert is a Jew. And converts do not break Shabbos for Jews. Just like they don't eat your nevela, which Buddhists also writes. So we know that it's not. So what is the Ger Tzedek, which is written by Women Steel explicitly? All Ger Tzedek are converts to Judaism. Only it's not true. And when you look in Yevamos 48b, it's talking about avadim. And there are 2 kinds of avadim there. Avid moil and of Evid Oro. Uncircumcised and circumcised.
Which would be the ger toshav, maybe? Or?
The circumcised Mistama becomes a Evid Kanani. So when you look in the Mishnah Berurah 304, there are 2 kinds of avadim there. And Evid Kanani gets mikveh and mila and mitzvahs like a woman. He keeps Shabbos. It's usher to teach him Torah, I just saw recently. But he obviously can't do malacha for you. That Evid is called Ger Tzedek. The Gra calls him, in the Birur Gra, in the Shulchan Aruch, calls him a Ger Tzedek. Evid Kanani is called, in most places, Ger Tzedek. What is my favorite current to date definition of Ger Tzedek? I think I got this from the Sifri. Anyone who took on mitzvahs is a Ger Tzedek. Now, interestingly enough, what is mitzvahs? More than 7. Well, who takes on more than 7? If either you're 613 or you're Goy. Not the Evid Kanani.
Well,
He takes on...
Evid Kanani is, for all practical purposes...
A Jew?
Is a convert.
Really? Then how come it's us to teach him Torah?
Could you count him in a minion?
No.
No, but well,
He's not an minion.
Yeah, but you wouldn't
He's-
count
and
a
what-
Jew who's
not a Jew.
who's an
He's not a convert.
If a Jew was an Evid, would you be able to comment on that?
Evid Ivri is not an Evid Kanani. They're from Bria altogether.
No, a Jew who's the Evid Ivri.
Yeah, he's not an Evid
Would
Kanani.
he be? I understand.
Yeah.
Would he be counted in a minion?
I believe so. I've not looked it up, so I cannot comment further. But I know that the Eved Kanani is mamash inachri. If you release the Eved Kanani from Avdus, it is usher to do because it is giving a matana to a nachri. He is not a Jew in any way, shape, or form.
But if you released him, then he could be counted as a minion.
Yes. And you cannot release
So
something.
so he would be a Jew.
No. He'd be a type of ger. And Bedi Evid in that sheet that you can see that gerim have shaykhis to certain things, which is beyond the scope of this discussion. But he is not a convert and he is not a Jew. He is a goy, mamish a goy.
He's a goy that could be counted in the minion.
Gerim have things that they can do. We're not talking about today's ger, blah blah, chasidamos olam. We're talking gerim as we find all through the Sifri and all these things. There's things gerim can do. But that's at least Yovel Noeg. At least.
So it's not something shy.
No.
Well, you couldn't have a Eved Kanani today?
You can have an Eved Kanani today.
United States.
Okay.
But we poskin that you cannot. Therefore, you will not find one.
Could you have one like in an
You
area?
could.
No, we poskin that you do not. The nafkamina is if you had a community that had Eved Kanani today, then you would ask them, hey, did you ever release one and make him part of the minyan? But we find in the Aruch HaShulchan and in the Shulchan Aruch that slavery today is forbidden in most Medinas. Therefore, we are not noeg to have slaves. That's when you get the Shita of Rashi. That slave today has become a hired worker, aka a sachir. And therefore, the Eved Kanani today we call a sachir. Not that it's the same thing. It's how we're noheg to it. And that is the machlekes of the Ravid and the Rambam. Making an Eved Kanani, is that a gior? Or is that, for the Ravid's view, I forget how he calls it, but it's the opposite of a gior. It's that someone who just took on mitzvahs. So that's why the Rambam asers it, because we don't go to countries converting goyim to mitzvahs. And the Ravid says that's not what that's considered. But today it's sachir, not Eved Kanani.
Which would bring it into our...
Well, it's also the Rebbe's Sicha gets into the sachir, and that's the maskana of the Sicha is, and this is what I was talking, this is where we left off, we went full circle. The Rebbe's function was what practically is the halacha of the non-Jew who keeps Shabbos. That's the big question. In fact, that's the entire opposition to what I'm teaching and this and that is the nafkamina is, why do you say Goyim keep Shabbos? And the answer is, I never said that a Goy keeps Shabbos. No one ever said that these non-Jews keep Shabbos like a Jew anyways. Right? It's what do you call it? The Ger Shabbat, Ger Torah, whatever you call it. It's priestess 9 days, what I call it. But the Rebbe wants to say even further, what does that look like? What is that? What is this non-Jew in Shabbos? So the Sikha then is based on Rambam 2014 Hilchos Shabbos, which he gets it from, I believe, the Rush. He bases it on the Rush, and I think Yevamos 48b, which the Shulchan Aruch is also based on Yevamos 48b. Right, the two kinds of slaves. So our friend Moshe Shulman over there wants to say that Yevamos 48b, Garrett Tzedek is a convert, only it's not. Look in Mishnah Berurah 304, which they'll say it's only talking about slaves. It's not for today. But it is talking about for today because it says Kut Ger Toshav. So then the Rebbe wants to say, is that talking about today? Hey, great question. So he'll start off with the Rambam. And then he goes into a long pilpul of why the Rambam chose the word Befarhesia when no one else said that. So then it's very brisk style what the Rebbe does. It's, in my opinion, it's probably one of the top three, not to make numbers out of it, but like Ger sources out there. I mean, the Rebbe nailed it. Which is why is it Chassidus? Rabbi Nachman nailed the Ger in Chassidus. This is funny because Breast of Chabad and respectively both nailed it better than most people. It comes down to the Magid Mishnah, Perush on the Rambam, that says, where's a Rambam? Where's the Rambam?
Which one?
Hilchos Shabbos. Right, so this is, again, we're going to kind of just get to the maskana of the Rebbe's Sikha ahead of Sunday. Kishesh Adam mitzave al shvisis behemasei beshabis kach umitzuve al shvisis avdoi. Very similar to Mishnah Berurah, isn't it? Maybe because this is where the Mishnah Berurah got it from. Ve'emasei afal pi shehin b'nei das u'ladas atzman oisin mitzvah aleinu l'shmoren u'lamagon Maisit malacha b'shar shenemer laman yanua shorcha v'chamorcha v'ayin afash ben amasecha v'hager. Evid v'am sha'anu mitzvoyin al shvisosin heim avadim shemalu v'tavlu l'shem avdus v'kibru mitzvah shavadim chayvin ben. Aval avadim shelo malu velo tavlu ella kibu alein sheva mitzvahs shenitztavu b'nei noyach bilvad harihain kiger toishiv umutrin larsos malacha b'shabis la'atzman b'far hesia ki Yisrael b'chol. This is like the Rebbe's entire thing in the Sikha. And he says, why does the Rambam add Bifar Hesia when the Rambam's quoting Krisis 9a, which doesn't say Bifar Hesia? And the Rebbe really nails this and understands this as the thrust of the Rambam's psak. Hold on. V'yin mekablan ger toishav elabas man shel yoyvol noyed. Oh, darn. Hoyel v'ger toishav oisei malacha la'atzmo b'Shabbos v'ger tzedek. Who's that ger tzedek?
He's going to be a slave.
Eved Kanani.
Yeah, Eved Kanani.
Hari hu ki Yisrael l'kul davar. Right? He's not a Yisrael l'kul davar. He is like a Yisrael l'kul davar. He's not a convert. B'mi ne'emar v'ayin afash ben amasecha v'yager. Because all the time there are two psukim concerning ger with Shabbos, the Aseres Adivris and the pasuk from Mishpatim. And only, I think, mainly the Ramban wants to say that the Ten Commandments is ger toishiv and Mishpatim is ger tzedek. He says all ger b'sharecha is a ger toshav, but most people are afuch, and they'll say the Ten Commandments is ger tzedek. And only the unlearned would say that's a convert. Everyone knows it's a ger Kanani. And the Mishpatim is ger toishiv. And Rashi there says sachir. So here the Rambam is bringing both psukim.
You're talking about your ger, where it says your ger?
That's the Ten Commandments. This is a ha-ger. Zeh, which ger? Zeh ger toishiv. Shehu lekitoi, schiroi, sheyisrael, kamo, ben emasoi, shelo yasim alachel Yisrael, rabo, v'shabes, avalatzmoi, oisei. V'filu haya ger ze avdo, hari ze oisei, la'atzmoi. So the Rebbe knows that there's no ger toshav till Yovel. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the latter part, who is a Sachir. And the Rambam is calling him a Sachir. Today there's a Sachir. The Alter Rebbe spoke about it as well.
The Shulchan Aruch, which is shy for
Yeah. So now the question becomes, this Sachir, what is his relationship to Shabbos? Is he ger toshav? All these things. So, in fact, let me quote it again. If we have a Sachir...
Where's this at? Shabbos what?
What's that?
What chapter?
2014. So, who is the Sachir is the big question. Magin Mishneh. I'm not used to this layout. My layout's a little different. V'ksav Rabbeinu Ger Toishiv Shehu lekito v'schir. So Rabbeinu said, Ger Toshav is your hired worker. So there is no Ger Toshav today. It's just a hired worker. V'kedoime li. The lav dafka. El afilu einu schiru aser min atira leimer lo la'asais malacha l'tzairach Yisrael. Lav dafka is a year worker. Anybody nobody can do work. No one like this can do work for a Jew on Shabbos. That concept is called Ger Toshav.
They're connecting it all to the Ger Toshav, which is...
The Ger Toshav is the basis to this.
What's basis?
The foundation.
Yeah, right.
Now, there's a lot of people like a Ger Toshav and called Ger Toshav, but so I worked this out. A Jew in Hilchos Shabbos is called, this is my own way of saying this, someone who can't do malacha. You're like, how do you identify a Jew on Shabbos? He's someone who can't do malacha. That's what a Jew is, vis-a-vis Hilchos Shabbos. Right? What is a Jew in the world of Hilchos Shabbos? A person who can't do malacha. Why do I say it that way? Because only a Jew in the whole world can't do malacha on Shabbos. Everybody else must do malacha on Shabbos.
Or they have a Kanani.
Okay.
Can't
But in that respect, he's cut Yisrael.
Okay.
Everybody else is not like Yisrael. They're goyim mamish. So that's why a goy can do malacha for a Jew on Shabbos deraisa. Yisrael does not do malacha. Everybody else does malacha, even for a Jew. We can rabbanan and say, hey, hold on a second. So then we find from these two psukim that there are two quasi people in the world: slaves, Geved Kanani. And it turns out he's Ki Yisrael. And we're warned, do not have the Eved Kanani work for you on Shabbos, or it's like you worked on Shabbos. And it's like he worked on Shabbos. So they're out. Don't ask your Eved Kanani friend to work for you. Don't ask him to do anything. He's keeping Shabbos, like a Jew. And then there's Ger Toshav. And the Eved is like a Ger Toshav. Which means, does he do Shabbos? Lowest common denominator, his Shabbos is not doing malacha for you. No?
He has a connection to Shabbos.
No, he doesn't.
Oh, yeah.
No, not yet. We haven't built that part of the argument yet. Lowest common denominator means, and we're talking Priestess 9a, copy paste.
You're talking a person that does not have Shituf.
I'm not talking about anybody but a Ger Toshav, an Eved Ger Toshav, Eved Toshav.
Oh, the Eved Ger Toshav. Oh.
He does not do malacha for a Jew. If he does, it's an Isser Deraisa for the Jew. Okay. Then we say, but there's no Eved today. So we say, okay, it's a Sachir. And the Rambam will say, okay, the Sachir. Wherever it said Eved, just call him a Sachir now. Same thing. And the Rebbe says, hey. What about the Magid Mishnah? Where it's Laf Dafka? And don't say Kol Ger Toshav. Kol Ger Toshav.
Are you going back to the call? Are you emphasizing?
No, that's me.
Okay.
I'm paraphrasing.
Oh, okay.
And so the Rebbe says then in the Sikha, and again he goes through the whole sugi, he gives you the whole sugi, and he explains like this. In fact, let me quote inside.
Where this whole thing with the sock here reminds me very similar, because you can't have an evet. So it reminds me very similar to the whole lakuf concept as well. You
The what?
Physically lakuf a non-Jew.
But
you can talk to them and you can
wait, but hang on, don't mix and match yet.
Okay.
Hold on. All right, so let's assume we have two kinds of ger toshav.
Okay.
One is a sachir. He's a goy. He works in the hotel. We don't care about him. Whatever you want to say, right? He's just do not abuse him to do malacha for you on Shabbos. Right? That's all we care about with this guy. So therefore, the pasuk is not saying he has to rest because we like him and we care about him. Right? We only care about let him make you coffee on Shabbos. That's all I care about. I don't care about him and his life, whatever it is. Yesh levayer svaras plugasa bein shitas admor azakin, who talks about the sachir. Vishitas hamagi, I think it's shitas hamagi mishnah. Shetaloi besivat v'tam chalus toiris shvisis Shabbos al ha'evid v'ger toishiv atzmim. Kanal baruchish izoi shitas Rambam. Sheyesh levayer ze b'shnei ufanim. The first one. Mitzad shaychusim leYisrael. The kevan sheha evid kanoi l'rabo. I own this guy. V'chein hager toishav kivush tachat yadenu. We own him. He's a worker. And that's like what the Alter Rebbe said.
Oh, right, yeah.
L'chein nimshachus alav toiras shvisis Shabbos b'noigeya l'malachus rabo. Tell my slave to please not make me coffee on Shabbos. Or my worker. South Africa, this is a real issue.
Yeah.
Because they will make you coffee, you have to tell them not to. The second answer, this is the kicker here, ready? Mitzad shaychus shelhem. This goy himself has a connection to Shabbos. Ledine Yisrael v'toiras Yisrael. He has toiras Yisrael. He gam kabbalas zayin mitzvahs b'nei noyach shel ger toishiv. This is a great deal. You hear this? He says there's sheva mitzvahs b'nei noyach and there's sheva mitzvahs ger toishiv. Big difference. One is dinei Yisrael, one's not. Shaychis l'toiras Yisrael, Kamoshik Sav Rambam, chapter 8.
You said, yeah, Sheva Mitzvah's Ger Toshav?
Yeah. Here he said Sheva Mitzvah's B'nai Noah Shel Ger Toshav, but over here he says Sheva Mitzvah's Ger Toshav. I'll read in a second. And then again, Siva Moshe Rabbeinu Mepia Gavoyra Lechovis Kol B'Yei Oilam Lekabel Mitzvah Shnitz Tavu B'nai Noah V'Kol Mishal O Kibel Yahareg V'Mekabel Oistamu Nikra Ger Toshav V'Kol Makoim V'Tzorich Lekabel Lav B'Fnei Shloisha Chaverim V'Hu Shekibel Oistam V'Yarsa Oistam Ibnei Shativa V'Yanagosh Baruch Hu V'Toyra Odiyanu Odiyei Moshe Rabbeinu. Again, before Gimel Chaverim just means he's got to be kosher with it. Mekabelin.
Like we were referring to earlier.
Yeah. Aval im asa mifnei hechra das ein zegir toishiv. V'aynu should tzarich lekabel lav zayin mitzvahs. A. Bifnei shlosha chaverim b'mibnei Yisrael. B. B'mibnei shativa b'hen HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'toyra v'diyanu adei Moshe Rabbeinu. The mekivon sheyesho yachis v'shaychis l'toyras Yisrael. Shahari kibel alav horas toiras Yisrael hashaychis elav. Meaning his Zion mitzvahs are Jewish. He took on more. That's like Rashi Shita on Yavamas, right? How does this guy not do avodah zarah? By not doing malacha for a Jew on Shabbos. Meaning he is careful in the 7. More than just keeping loosely the 7. Yesh makoim loimer shayom Shabbos etzlo Shabbos is on him. He says today is Shabbos. He doesn't say, hey Jew, today is Shabbos for you. He says today is Shabbos. The pasuk is talking about him in the ger. Eino yom stam. It's not just Saturday. Sheyesh az tzivoy. He has a command. Ela yesh lo chalus v'shem shel Shabbos to Yisrael. And this is what the Rabbi is saying. So now that he has Shabbos to Yisrael, Krisis 9a says he breaks Shabbos. Must break Shabbos. One of three ways, right? He does malacha layantiv, malacha dechol, or malacha dechol moed. And the way the Rebbe explains the Sikha, it comes out that he has to keep Shabbos. But he must break it. That means
For
his Shabbos means he breaks it.
his Shabbos, he breaks the Jewish
Yeah,
Shabbos.
right. His Shabbos never entailed keeping, malacha.
So going back to the big picture, Hilchot Malachim 10:9, it says non-Jew or a goy.
That is not him.
It's not. Well,
There is the Ger Toshav and there is Akum.
But what I'm saying is another way to put it is he's keeping Shabbos.
Well, here's another way of putting
He's
it.
not gonna be keeping
Here's another way of putting it. This guy, whoever we want to call him, the Shabbos guy,
Right.
and the guy of 10:9.
Right.
I don't know what we're calling them yet.
Doesn't matter.
Wait. We don't know what they're called.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
But I'm a Jew,
Right.
and they both want to do malacha for me. Both of them came up to me in a hotel, and they said, David Katz, do you want us to turn this incandescent light bulb on for you? And I said, yes, please do.
So you have an issue now.
Right. So I said, please turn on my incandescent light bulb.
You have to.
So the one we'll call the Akum did it. That is only an Isser D'Rabbanan that I did. I did not transgress a Deraisa. The other guy, I just did a Deraisa. So you can call them Steve and Joe,
Okay.
but one carries a Rabbanan, one carries a Deraisa.
Okay.
There's two aspects to this. One is on the person. We know that the person that does not have shituf, who takes on the laws of as a ger toshav, he has a connection to Shabbos, and therefore it's because of his connection to Shabbos he doesn't do this.
Exactly, because he has a connection to Shabbos, unlike the Eved who has no connection.
But there's also a question of the circumstance regarding the mitzvah. The circumstance, I haven't found a way to understand the circumstance being different between him and the Akum. Because the question is whether or not he is under the bodily control of the Jew, as to whether or not
That's what he said. Very good question. Very good question. V'hachi svirule lamagid mishnah sheladas harambam shvisis ha'evid v'gertoishavi lo rak mipnei shaychusam lenechosim. The Eved Akum is my property. Mamon di Yisrael. Elagam mitzad shaychusam ladinei v'toiras Yisrael. Kamoshak sava rabam atzmo begeder kabbalas zayin mitzvahs shel ger toshav. V'lachein be'inyonim Hashayachim leYisrael. Hainu k'sha'isei malacha ivor Yisrael nimshich gam alav ha'inyan shvisas Shabbos. He's not my property. One is my property. I have to make sure that my property doesn't make me coffee. The other guy, he is not my property. He has a command by God from the Torah. Hey, I better not make this Jew a cup of coffee or I get in trouble, and he at least gets in trouble.
Now, Rabbi Katz, is kind of a side note. Is he also saying that if you hire somebody and he is your property, he has to keep the Sheva Mitzvahs, Ger Toshav?
It's the Beis Yosef talks about that.
Okay.
We poskin that this is a great thing. In the Shiva I teach at, I hit a speed bump with this because it's a fantastic question. This is like the question of all questions.
Okay.
He doesn't have to keep the 7. It's lav dafka, but he was yikabel. So
He's expected to keep.
no, when the sources say kabel, is that a loose word or a jargon term? Meaning when it says he doesn't have to kabel, does that mean proper Kabbalah
Well, can't.
or not kabel anything?
Right.
Meaning he was not kabel Zion mitzvahs. Does that mean he just didn't have a proper Kabbalah?
You just hired him.
Or just hire him? And and the only question is, when do people mean something by kabel and not?
Right.
And it seems to be that most people are using that term most literally, like Kabbalah.
Either that or a lot of
Right.
people are doing something
Right.
wrong.
Right. So it's a question what that means there. That's like the nafkamina. I would say it's hard to tell.
Okay.
Yeah. The only question is, does Kabbalah always mean Kabbalah, or does it ever not mean Kabbalah? Just like when Blumenstiel wants to write Makabla means accepted. Guess what? Makabla doesn't mean accepted at all. Ever. Ever. It doesn't mean Makabel. I was Makabel. It doesn't mean that. It's a jargon term. Makabelin.
What I was asking her earlier.
Yeah.
Okay, the Ger Shav does not do this. When we were going over it before, it seemed there was the Ger Shav that's under the jurisdiction of the court.
And this is what he's saying. There are two kinds of Ger Toshav. One is property. One is a God-fearing person.
Under the jurisdiction of the court,
Yeah.
places him under the bodily control.
There are two
of the
kinds of Ger Toshav. One is he's my property. That is a Yovel Ger Toshav. No?
In the Yovel, there is the freeman Ger Shav.
Okay.
But he's under the bodily control of the community.
That's
through-
right.
through the
And
court
that
system.
is that's understanding based in to be a literal based in.
Right.
This is not a literal based in.
That's not speaking of the literal basis.
No. That's Rambam 8, 10, 11. The Rabbi says it, but Farish. It's not Dinei Ger Toshav. In fact, he has Dinei Torah in Torah Yisrael. Different world altogether. It's Svei Din and Brisk.
So he's a free
He's a
Yisrael,
God-loving person.
which comes to the whole thing about being in public before Hesed, I think, right? Or no? He's like a Yisrael before.
The Rabbi takes for this in different. Huh?
So what's the mechanism that causes him not to be able to do the work?
The Torah itself. The Torah says, rest your ger on Shabbos. He understands that is a direct commandment on me personally.
To rest your ger. Or rest.
I have a mitzvah,
All the ger.
deraisa, to not have James put on an incandescent light for me on Shabbos. He has a mitzvah from God that he cannot put
How is this person your ger?
because he's only a ger in respect to me. There's no such thing as an incandescent light bulb if I don't exist. He's only a ger because of me. He's James. He's not a ger. His name is James Gosnell. He's a human being.
It's a proximity.
He's a ger on Shabbos.
If you're not,
Remember, there are many kinds of gerim. Well, if I have a treif piece of meat, guess what he just became called? He just became called the ger in my gate. All of a sudden, I have a gate.
Because it's an option now.
Yeah, I am now a gatekeeper. He is in my gate, and he gets nevela for free. If there's no nevela, then he is not the ger in my gate.
There's a potential, right? I fit within a certain.
The ger only becomes a ger as Torah circumstances arise.
But if it's the reason is because he does not have, if there's an inner Hasidic
Wait, he's
reason-
only a ger because of mitzvahs. Why is this guy Jewish?
Tell me before Gilon Chaverin.
Because he went under oath to be under a mitzvah 24/7 till the day he dies.
right.
The ger toshav is not under mitzvah outside of the 7 24/7.
Except we've already seen that he takes on those 7 as
Seven, that's fine.
as the Ger Toshav.
That's fine.
It's on the
And so
high
he
level.
can become, what does the Ger Toshav do? He's Makabel Ol Malchus Shemayim. So the more Ger Toshav a person becomes,
What does that have to do with the Jew, though? The proximity to the Jew.
because a Jew represents the mitzvahs. Without the Jew and the mitzvahs, there is no Ger.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
Maybe this will add for understanding.
Yeah.
In Hillel's game, in regards to conversion, it says I have to go before 3 Nechaverim, much like this. Like, you don't have to go to the CRC. I could ask Rabbi Katz. I could have had Jonas and Lubin and my friend Ariel right here and go before them and do all 3 things. From my understanding, Rabbi Turn seemed to...
Yeah, they wouldn't.
And I'd be a lot Jewish.
He can't not be Jewish. A ger is not a ger all the time.
Right.
So a ger is a ger when in a ger is not a ger all the time.
So you've got.
Otherwise,
this
it's a conversion.
wait a minute. So you got this I get Ger. All these people call themselves Ger.
Yeah.
But they're not Ger all the time.
No.
That's what I was trying to tell you earlier.
So all the people that want to be Ger, they got to move into a Jewish community.
No. What they would be doing is saying, I am under Ol Malchus Shemayim all the time. I am constantly with Kabbalah
Oh, so then they are 24/7.
on that particular mitzvah.
No, on the 7.
Okay, on the 7.
And then they're Ger 24/7.
No, they are ger in their 7 24/7.
Yeah.
Not all Noahides are in their 7 24/7.
Of course they are.
No, they're not. That's called being careful with the mitzvahs. Not all of them are careful with the mitzvahs. To be careful with the mitzvahs means that you are not in
the
shituf.
people that call themselves Noahides.
No, we're talking technical.
Reject shituf. Look, technical. The word
They have not
Noahide
rejected
is made
shituf
up.
until they become ger toshav. No, they're not made up.
The word Noahide is made up.
That's right. That's why they're not.
Yeah.
That's why they're not serious with it.
They can. It means that they can be.
From now on, I want to be called an awesome dude. From now on,
All right.
only refer to me as awesome dude.
All right.
What happens in a week from now when we all forgot about that? Then I guess I wasn't too serious about it.
You're not held
It's on Facebook.
No, Bob and I were talking
Wait a
about
minute. Wait a minute. That means I wasn't serious about being called an awesome dude, right?
Well, if you're not serious.
Right. So someone who takes Kabbalah, Zion mitzvahs, he is serious in his 7. He is constantly in the 7.
He's going to be called Shabbos boy.
He can't be now. He rejected shituf.
Right.
A Noahide has no. He may think he's serious. He may actually be serious. I, the Jew, do not treat him serious. I don't assume that he is serious in the 7. I'm going to make up a really ridiculous thing here. Some Christian comes knocking on the door and says, "Hey, everybody, come to the church. It's free yoga day." And if I have 3 Noahides over here, I will say, "Hey, do you guys want to go join the church?" I have no reason not to. But
What?
it's free yoga day at the church. You don't want to miss yoga. But if there's a ger toshav, I know for a fact he is not interested in free yoga day.
Anybody who calls himself a Noahide.
No. A Noahide may be from their own sages. By definition, a Noahide may or may not be a Chassid. I can't possibly know if he's a Chassid or not. I can't know.
Yeah, no, the Rambam, he said a Noahide.
By Blumenstiel standards, from their own wisdom and the Chassidim are all called Noahide, and it's impossible to know. Therefore, I cannot assume any Noahide is cautious and careful with his 7.
Rambam doesn't ever say Noahide in the Hebrew there.
Huh?
The Rambam never says Noahide in the Hebrew there in
Right.
the Torah.
Right.
No, I don't think
And so the difference, like you're saying, I assume, and Michael Schulman wrote this explicitly, all Noahides are shaykh to be Shabbos Goy. All.
It's not in the divine code.
It's written in an email. I can send it to you. Therefore, that means they are not careful in the 7. I get Gerer personality would say, I state your name, Russell Kirk, am constantly interested and careful in the 7. You will never find me non-7. And I trust that because he has Kabbalah. And he has rejected Shituf. So I would never even think anything. Christian Shituf with Russell Kirk. Now, you'll say, well, that's a stupid thing to even think that. Go ask Jews if Noahides are Christians. 90% of them will say probably yeah.
What?
Jews think that Noahides are just some kind of new halfway house for Christianity. They're not
from a Jewish perspective. Let's say somebody says somebody doesn't say anything, or they make up a term like Noahide. What's a Noahide?
Right.
How am I going to judge that person? How would you judge that person?
You can't.
You can't.
Is that he may be from their sages, and he may be a Hasid. I don't know. And you know what? He doesn't know. That's why Kabbalah is a great thing. Until you make Kabbalah for yourself, you don't know. They say, and I'm not really into MMA at all, but there's a guy in wrestling. Everyone knows I like wrestling. Aaron Pico. He is a great. He is a young kid. He wrestles, but he quit wrestling to go into MMA, and so he just got done fighting a guy who he was supposed to kill the guy. It was like I fell into the hype of it, and Aaron Pico lost in like 15 seconds. And so I'm like, whoa, how'd that happen, right? So the whole wrestling community was stunned. And they interviewed the guy that beat him. Really awesome guy. Just a really cool personality. And he said the best thing that he likes about fighting is you find out who you are when you fight in a match. And they said Pico was so young, he doesn't know who he is yet. So until you're battle tested, you don't know. Kabbalah means I know I'm careful with the seven. The Noahide doesn't know, as he was never made to take Kabbalah. He doesn't know.
Just like a person that wants to convert.
Just like
Garrett
said.
I mean, serious people that want to convert, they're really serious, they're really trying, and then they don't.
That's it.
Is that person a Garrett Tzedek? We even had this conversation with Rabbi Turn. No, he's not a Garrett Tzedek.
He doesn't have a title. If you're alone...
I mean, every guy in yeshiva thinks they're a rabbi after 5 years. I thought I was. I mean, it's like you've been learning for 5 years, and then you start to realize, man, I knew nothing after 5 years. But nothing now. But I mean, until you've really done... I think achievements are hard to come by in this world. You have to achieve to achieve. You can't be close and say I'm good enough. Pico found that out.
I just can't comprehend. I mean, it would seem sort of insulting.
It is an insult
To all the people
It's
that
insulting.
are involved with Ask Noah, or all the people
and they
that are
should not
involved
have
with
been led
Noahide,
down the wrong path.
or involved with Noahide
They
Nation.
should not
These-
have
these
been-
people take the 7 laws seriously.
No, they don't. Or they'll take Kabbalah. No, they don't. I took my studies very seriously, but until I became a somewhat working rabbi, I didn't take it seriously enough. And I can tell you, my serious level changed the more I grew with my rabbinics. Aaron Pico thought he was a serious fighter. He wasn't. A Noahide is not serious. Or they wouldn't be wearing silly shirts saying I'm a Noahide.
Silly shirts.
With Moshe Peretz. Ger Toshav and the Rambam 8, 10, 11 is the path of prescription. Call it I'm serious. Now, what about for those that don't know? Okay, now you know. Get serious. I remember my first day in yeshiva, I got in trouble. I sat in the Rosh Yeshiva's chair going into Marv. And David Klein came up to me and said, look, you're new here, but you might not want to sit in that chair. I said, why? He says, the Rosh Yeshiva's chair. Oh, all right. I got serious pretty quick. Now, was I not serious 5 seconds ago? Well, I was, but I got a lot more serious when I found out what I did.
And now other people know you're serious, rather than
Right.
you just subjectively.
Right, if I would have just said, look, it's a free community, man. We can all sit where we want to sit.
Like your wrestler guy, he said, "Yeah, I could beat that guy."
Right.
He didn't know.
No, because he found out, take jiu-jitsu a little more serious.
So
Noahides should start getting serious. Ask Noah and all the Noahide things are, get this, designed to not be serious. Why is this book controversial? Because it's serious. It's saying, get serious. There is a difference between a goy and a ger toshav, the rabbanin and the raisa. It is serious. And they're saying like, whoa, we don't want to get too serious because then there's consequences and we got to really do serious stuff. We don't want to do anything serious. We want to make happy t-shirts for people, make them feel good about themselves. and get Christians out of the church and get people believing in God even if they have Shituf thoughts still. Get serious. Rejecting Shituf is not the same as not believing in Shituf. Until you reject it, you didn't reject it.
And that has to be done before Gimel Chaverim, you're saying?
Not literally. It's lav dafka. They bring Gimel Chaverim because it's taken, the verbiage of Ger Toshav is borrowed from the halachic Ger Toshav world. So in the time of Yovel, you need literally a base in of 3 Chaverim. That vocabulary is borrowed and grafted into this Rambam, to which the Rabbi says, just know the vocabulary is, what's that word called? Imported, but it's not activated the same way. It's not the same activation. So just like Ger Toshav is only in the land of Israel, but it's not. But for the Yovel it is, but non-Yovel it's not. You need Gimel Chaverim. You need the Inyan of Gimel Chaverim. It's a different Geder of Ger Toshav. And all the Lumdis and sources and Brisk and all this understand this type of Ger Toshav usage. It's non-literal. There's the literal Ger Toshav and the non-literal. I don't know a better way to express it, and it's very difficult. It's Veidim on every point. There's always, oh, do you mean the Yovel win or the non-Yovel win? Oh, you mean the real based in or the Kilu based in? Oh, you mean we really have to support him or we have to be nice to him? There's always that thing. And there are those that say, wrongly, there's the Kilu, no, that's Rabbi Katz made that up. It's only the literal and we don't have Yovel today. No one says that. Only this new creation wants to say that.
Somebody being nice to you for Darkei Shalom for the sake of peace, or do they think there's an actual miss?
Exactly. Yeah.
So here's the question. I'm trying to understand maybe where the... Is it like this? Like, before, like, say I converted, so it's nice. You wear talus, I didn't have to do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
But because I wasn't obligated to, it's not really serious, it's just having fun.
Right. Greater is one who's commanded and does than one who is not commanded and does.
Exactly. So me before on a Bezdin, and maybe this was the irritation as well, has two things. One, there's 3 Jews that can attest the fact that I'm Jewish. I can marry a Jew, my kids go to Cheder, whatever, I can be counted a minion. There are 3 guys that witnessed my conversion, and nobody outside of that has asked me, let me see your conversion paper. Nobody questions it.
Right.
So this is when they get to Toshav, like but also for me, I'm serious because it's permanent.
Here's the irony. Listen to the irony. Ask Noah will say, one who takes a personal oath is a Chasid Olam and is commanded and does. Okay. I agree.
Are they going to treat you that way?
Well, are you going to continue and go the full extent and call that Ger Toshav? Because they get halfway there, they got it, they're saying he took Kabbalah, but what they're stopping short of is calling that Kabbalah what it is and what it implies. They're saying, yeah, he took Kabbalah, but it's not Ger Toshav, because there is no Ger Toshav, so he is a Shabbos Goy, he's not a Ger Toshav, all that Ger Toshav world doesn't come into it, we're not that serious, and neither is he can believe in Shituf, not a problem. Just not a Christian. But if you say, yes, he took Kabbalah, and it's called Ger Toshav.
It's a fantasy for them.
It's fantasy. And within it's fantasy for him and for me. He may or may not have been true in his Kabbalah. I don't know. And I don't care. He's still a goy. He's my Shabbos goy. And I don't care about him or what he does. But I love him. He may have been serious. It may have been a good Kabbalah. Don't get me wrong. He may be a serious Kabbalah, non-goy. He could be mamish. But we'll never know. Because there's no Ger Toshav till Yovel.
Right. That's what it comes down to.
But if I have the guts to say that the Rebbe said this thing is called Ger Toshav, he is not a Ger Toshav. It is called Ger Toshav. Now, what that comes is consequences.
Yeah, now we're talking about Ger Toshav.
Yeah.
which comes with
Shabbos Goy,
mitzvah l'kiyuv.
all the Soloveitchik thing, yeah.
You have to return his lost item.
Right.
And not for Darkei Shalom.
And then you can even argue, we don't, let's say we don't know how to treat a Ger Toshav today. That at the very least, there's Hilchos Shabbos and Shituf. He has rejected Shituf, which is Shabbos, same thing, Shituf and Shabbos.
Now, would it be hard to say, like, return lost items? And
Yeah, because it's like Bob saying with the minion. My advice is not to get into that because I think my opinion is the Ger Toshav of today should be moichel on dinim, right? And I think that's what the Rambam, or the Brisker Rav was explaining when the Rambam says there's no Ger Toshav today, and the Rav explains that.
to be stringent?
The Torah laws seem to be. There's a way you can understand the Brisker Rav is saying all Dinei Ger Toshav don't exist today until Yovel because that's what's lost. Mm-hmm. Remember the Rav says some things yes, some no.
Yeah, right.
So what we do know is the lowest common denominator is Shabbos Kli.
Okay. Because it's explicit.
It's explicit, and it's and even you don't. The greater Ger Toshav Yovel world doesn't exist in that sugya. Remember, each part of the Ger Toshav sugya has sugyas by itself. So the Shabbos element of the sugya doesn't enter the Yovel plane. It enters the non-Shituf plane. And there's always two planes, the Shituf plane and the Yovel plane.
I have a feeling that non-Jews are serious.
They are, right, they are.
But
That's the thing, the Noahide world wants to be serious, just wants to be serious.
they don't know that they're not being taken.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right, and the Talmud Chacham community takes it serious and learns it serious, and the sources are serious, but the
It's like they obfuscate to not.
the Kiruv world is not a serious world. That's my problem with Mizrahi and all these guys. It's not serious.
Yeah.
They make it sound serious. That's their job to make it, but it's not.
But
They're not delivering Torah's emes over Facebook stuff. It's just not.
You don't find soup kitchens for like non-Jews and stuff.
What's that?
You're not going to find like soup kitchens for non-Jews.
I thought you were going to say, don't call a soup kitchen gourmet, because it isn't.
Oh, okay. No, I'm talking about like the mitzvah with the use of.
Right. But I'm saying the Kiruv world is not serious. I was a Baal Tshuva a long time ago. They did not treat me serious. Because how many of them are going to become frum, really? It's just a novelty act. Some kid off the street wants to learn Torah today. Entertain him for a while. And that's usually where it goes. It's just Kiruv is not a serious industry.
It's true in the B'nai Noach community as well, though, a little bit. They are serious. They want to be serious, but like.
Right, and that's my tie on the Baal Tshuva.
Yeah.
I think the Baal Tshuva is serious. Yeah. You're just treating him like a shagitz.
Yeah.
And everyone comes in goofy. The Baal Tshuva, thinks, they come in on Israel and on a spiritual high, and they say dumb things. So what? Treat him serious.
It's a stupid question, like, can a Ger keep shows?
So
you started to take people serious.
that's it. That's really what it's about.
So like when Ross came in and you guys were studying.
Ross asked me the question, and it never occurred to me to not take him serious.
Because you know what it's like to be not taken
Right. It just never. Ross, you remember it? Was there any point where I didn't take you serious?
No, not ever.
And so you had to, so you, as a rabbi, had to make a decision. Do I blow him off and give him
That was the whole story.
answer, or do I take
Can
him
can Noah keep Shabbos?
So it's on
So my first thought was, I told the story a million times. Do I tell the goy that a goy that keeps Shabbos is chayiv misa? That's already saying this guy's not serious. He's not serious. But that means that I'm denying myself. That means I'm not serious. Why? Because what was my answer in my head that day? David Katz, did you ever look it up? That was a serious question.
And you found a non-Jew that does rest on Shabbos.
Well, but I'm saying the first thing I had to realize was it's either me or him. And I realized I'm not being serious right now. If I tell him that.
You just said no.
We're not recording right now, are we?
So I realized the least I could do as a young, serious scholar.
We're recording?
Look it up!
And in Ross's mind, because he doesn't know Torah as much, he, in his mind, maybe he's thinking, wow, maybe this guy's right, instead of actually knowing what's right.
Just like I'm trained to say a goy that keeps Shabbos is chayav misa, he's trained to think
To accept whatever you
that's
say.
to accept whatever I would have said. Ross, a goy is chayav misa. Done.
Class is over.
And so,
That's it.
and so then the non-Jew, he has feelings like, man, maybe I should be doing something, but his knowledge
Right.
tells him
And
that,
see, this is where I love Maisa Bereshis type stuff. Right? The smallest things in this world make an impact. So he asks me if a ben Noah can keep Shabbos. My response is a goy that keeps Shabbos is chayav misa. Now we're going to come back a week later. How many metaphysical things has happened? He's put in his place. I'm above him. I look down on him. He's now a goy. He'll never get out of that.
He's telling all his friends.
All right. I'm the Jew. I'm superior. All that's under the surface. And now if he asks me a question again, his confidence goes down a little bit more. I'm a little bit more inflated.
He's actually lost connection with Torah.
He's lost connection. He's gone a little bit further away. I've made myself believe I'm a little bit closer. Because now, even if he's not intimidated, he'll put on an act of intimidation, and I'll buy into it, and I'll believe it, because my ego will make me. So all this is social 101. This happens when you go to the mall.
Eventually,
Right? I mean, go ask the guy at Best Buy about a computer. He just did the same thing. Do you have any discounts today? I'm too tired to deal with you. No, we don't. Oh, shucks. Now the same game played. I'll get nicer. He'll get more arrogant. I mean, the same story.
and push him away into actual sheets.
Right. I'll go to a bar and I'll offer a woman a drink. Mm-hmm. Same thing.
Yeah, right.
She's even less interested because I offered to buy the drink, mm-hmm. right? And now I believe it's the same game wherever you go, And so it's just you're going to perpetuate the ego the more you play into it. But what if you stop and say, maybe I'm the one that's not serious. Maybe I should look it up once in my life. Look it up, and there it was. Ger keep Shabbos. Now, I didn't know what that meant. I mean, to the extent we're talking now. But I clearly saw that it wasn't Pashit, and there was much to discuss. So when they say there's nothing to discuss, well, that's kind of a chutzpah, isn't it? That's what Justin Becker said. What this book achieves is at least there's something to discuss. At the very least. There is a discussion. And what's ironic is the other view, Blumenstiel particularly, is end of discussion, there is no discussion. And that's why there's a fight on Facebook in the world right now. Is we're saying, hey, let's at least discuss. And they're saying, but there is no discussion. And we're going to end all of your discussions. We don't want you discussing it. Why?
Because there's consequences.
That's it. Because there's consequences.
Yeah, a child.
Because if it is discussable, then there are consequences.
There's something there.
Yeah.
Based on sources, if we're on record, I don't want to send the sources, I'm unsure. I have to check, but which one specifically? Based on sources, I can tell you, it seems to me, at least, maybe the Rebbe's in Yom B'nai Noach, maybe it was Kodesh Shared, maybe it could be Sichas, that's why I don't want to put in his name yet. At least I know I've been told by Walters, my friend, so that it seems to me like the name Noach should be taught to be self-sufficient.
That's how Chaim ended for chapter 1 of the World of Ger. They have to learn Chachma to be self-sufficient.
And so if you're not going to take them seriously, they're never going to become self-sufficient.
Right.
You have a bunch of puppies following you around.
Again, chapter 1, World of Ger. That's why I teach in the yeshiva that I do.
I like James Gosnell, but I don't want to hold his hand every day. Well, I wouldn't mind, but
No, but that's why the biggest question I get when I travel is, why do you teach these non-Jews Torah? You should be helping Jews, blah, blah, blah. And it's not because I have this great love for the non-Jew. All right? I'm not saying I don't, but I'm just saying that's not my... I'm not like...
Obligation. It's like they're not your feet.
Because anybody that deals with a chachma doesn't love the chachma itself.
It's just a need that has to be filled.
But need, I mean, like, you have to make people self-sufficient in matters of this world. When I go to the gas station and I'm the lazy American and I make the girl run my card and she says, look, to run your card, it's real simple. Just go like that and hit enter. Does she love gas that much? Like, I love gas she's like, okay, with a dumb American, just get it right. Like, dude, really, just go like that.
And she's helping you out.
Right. It's her job. I work in Torah. It's my job. I can't have in my job people not doing what is required. It's like when in elementary school they used to say, don't throw stuff on the floor. And we said, but Mr. Clark is going to clean it up at the end of the day. And we were right. But do you want a dafka throw things on the floor just because Mr. Clark is going to come clean it up? And does Mrs. Nelson love Mr. Clark that much? Oh, I just love Mr. Clark. And just don't make Mr. Clark have to clean your mess on the floor. You want to keep the 7 laws? I think that's great. Torah says so. Here, don't mess it up. Do it the right way. I don't really see the reason why not to take it serious. So then they say, but so what is it about the 7 mitzvahs that you love so much? Do you love Gentiles? Well, I mean, I like people, but I'm not particularly in love with the 7 laws in terms of it does great for humanity. What it is that 7 mitzvahs in learning and in brisk, in my personal opinion, it's the greatest Torah that exists. Now, to each his own. Some people love Hasidus, some people love Kabbalah. I love the Ger Toshav Sugya. And it has tremendously, and I've seen you grow with it, it gives to every other aspect of Torah. It's Torah on steroids. If you don't love it, I mean, you just haven't seen it yet. I mean,
we lost sleep over it. I didn't lose sleep over Hilton Shabbat.
That's what I'm saying. It's incredible. I mean, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if it wasn't.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
It's exciting. It's exciting living Torah. Yeah?
James is my Ross Beard because he came up to me one time when I was like, look at the Rambam. It's very interesting and makes a differentiation.
See, that's the thing. With Ger, you could have looked at something 20 million times, and you looked again, it's like, huh? Huh? And it's a metaphysical, you know? And it's like in the world, the Ger is these people that aren't Shituf. Amongst people in Shituf. It's an amazing thing.
That's the whole thing.
God
well springs. Our well springs go out when it gets the nations.
Right.
They come out too.
And so that thing, that's what I love, is watching that happen.
Yeah.
I think one of the best ways you expressed it was the Torah is not static, now it's dynamic.
It is. And Ger is the dynamic feature. And so, do I love teaching Gentiles, so to speak? Well, not really. I mean, anyone. But watching that dynamic thing at play. And why would you learn it and not engage the thing itself? It's like the famous Hasidic story. A young bacher was going to get married. So they gave him the chassan classes and like teaching him about how to date. And he said, all right, Moshe, you're going to meet the girl. So you go in there, just take a look, and ask her to marry you, and you're good. Goes in, opens the door, passes out. Ends up at the hospital. He wakes up. And they say, Moshe, what happened? I don't know. I opened the door, and there was a woman sitting there. Yeah? You're going to date, but it's not a real woman.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
So once you realize that it's real,
exactly.
So I guess I can't believe that this was the biggest chiddush in this whole thing. But like, you're actually going to teach the people that Ger is shaykh to? Just learn the Indian. Why do you got to teach them? Like, really? You're not going to complete the circuitry?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good way of thinking.
Yeah. And for some reason, that was the Chiddush, was teaching Ger to pretend these Ger people that would be Ger. If I would just learn Ger and never teach Ger people, no one would have a problem. But because I went out to teach people the Torah shaykh to them, then it becomes controversial. It's a fantastic thing.
Because you actually put other people on the spot.
Yeah. Right. I mean, in Judaism, too long people are the scholar is become used to learning theoretical in the corner of the base medrash and writing his farm about it and never doing anything about it. You know, it's been theoretical. When you go and do something, then do it. That's why the Rabbi came under fire. He knew that B'nai Noach was a thing, and he went out and did it. Everyone knows that B'nai Noach is a thing. The only argument, and the Rebbe got argument, feedback or pushback as well. Okay, it's real, but is it worth doing? Okay, if a goy comes to me, I can teach him the 7 laws. But I should go on now looking for goyim. I thought Jews don't proselytize. I thought we're not missionaries. I thought we don't goyim have to blah 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 blah. So then the Rebbe, has this whole thing. Why it's so great to teach the non-Jew, and then it becomes a hashkafic inyan. To the point where people ask me, why do you do what you do? Do you love goyim that much? Again, if by the time you get to that question, you miss the whole cause.